Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast. Soly here, joined by my guy, Mr. TC. Hello, TC. How was the holiday weekend?
It was awesome, Solly. God, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4th of July combos. It's pretty unbeatable.
Man, I can't wait till my kids are old enough that I can say that. It was beatable. Let me tell you, it was a very, very, very beatable long weekend here. I'm going to give you a little run of show for how we're going to do things tonight. We're going to recap the John Deere Classic here up first. Then we're going to do a little special segment. TC and I have come up with 8 tiers of golf courses on the PGA Tour, each having our own set of criteria, and we're going to slot almost every course on tour into those tiers. Full disclosure, we recorded most of this week's pod ahead of the holiday. Again, thank God we did, because it was a weekend for your boy. But after that, we talk a little bit about some courses we'd like to see host events on the PGA Tour, some news and notes, including new purse distribution for the playoffs, open qualifying, a banger of an article from Adam Schupak on the equity being handed out to some of the legends, or not being handed out to some of the legends of the game of golf. Live 2026 schedule. Finally, on the end, we spend a little bit of time with Aldrich Potgieter, and you can catch that interview at the very end. Around the world in golf, Brian Campbell wins for the second time this season.
Get him on the
John
team.
Deere. You beat
Get him
me
on the
to it.
team.
Dan Brown wins the BMW, and Jeremy Lottie Wood blew the field away at the KPMG Women's Irish Open. But we got to start with you've heard us talk about Titleist new T Series irons on tour, like that T2, like that T100, T150, and T250 combo that Aldrich Potgieter switched to right before winning the Rocket Classic last week. We talked a little bit about with him about that at the very end of this episode. We both just got fit ourselves. Excited to put the new models in play. We can't spill the beans yet on all the technology and new features. More on that soon. But I can tell you right now, starting this Thursday, July 10th, you can go ahead and get fit for the new T-Series irons yourself. Getting fit is wildly, wildly, wildly important. TC, what were your big takeaways from your fitting?
Yeah, Solly, I'm kind of evolving my set a little bit. I've got 250s in the 4 through 7 iron. I had 200s prior in the 4 and 5 iron. 6 and 7 iron are going to 250s, and then I've got 150s in the 8 and 9 iron, and then I'm gonna stick with the 44-degree Vokey for my pitching wedge. So I'm stoked. My apex was a lot higher, especially in those mid irons with the 250s.
Yeah, I was kind of stunned with just, I kept blaming myself for some of the mishits I was having. And then our fitter, Jason, was just like, no, let's solve for this problem. Like, we can solve for this problem. That is part of fitting. And I ended up in a combo set. I was in a combo set originally. I was in the T150s in this past set, but now I got the T254 iron and the utility iron in the bag. And it is launching straight up to the moon. It's freaking awesome. And then I'm T150s down the rest 5 through pitching wedge. And again, we got fit 2 years ago, but things change. Bodies change. Like, it's good to stay healthy and keep getting fit. Playing a setup that's built for you will make a massive difference. You can head to Titleist.com to schedule a fitting near you, and stay tuned to Titleist social channels for more information on new T-Series irons coming very soon.
Yeah, Solly, I think I'm stoked about these because the interoperability between the whole set is crazy. Were you in the 100s at all?
No.
So you were 150s all the way down to the wedges, and then
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I like that boring. Again, that's the question and answer part. I like that little boring flight. Lower flight on the irons. But they got me all set. Want to give a shout out to our friends at Rhoback as well. They got our favorite polos, hoodies, shorts, pants. You name it. I live in these workout shirts in the summer, especially even the long sleeve one. It's very cool even to wear, and it beats the sun. You want to beat, you don't need to get the forearms out in the sun. They make so many great materials. I got some of their shorts on. I wear them every single day. Listen, July 4th has passed, but the USA collection is there as well. They got great red, white, and blue designs. I had some rocking this weekend. My father-in-law got him some Rhoback stuff. He was rocking it as well. Delta Looper shorts, perfect for the golf course. They're back in stock. They're great for on and off the course. So head to Rhoback.com. Get code NLU. Will get you 20% off your first order through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com. 20% off polos, shorts, and more with code NLU. TC, the John Deere. Did it slap? Did the John Deere slap this year?
It depends on what kind of slapping we're talking about. No, it didn't slap. I actually watched a lot of it Thursday, Friday. Kind of tuned out when I saw Cam Champ and a couple other BSIs on the up on the board on Saturday, but
You
I
got to be
think,
stoked. The anti BSI guy gets his second PGA Tour win of the season.
yeah, I think that's, I mean, there's nowhere else to go but that, right? I think that like Brian Campbell, I don't think he has a top 30 this year besides his 2 wins.
I can look that up. That would
And I
not
don't think
surprise me.
I don't think he's in the British Open, even like despite 2 wins.
This win doesn't get him in.
I don't think they do. I was just reading PGA Tour.com. They were saying it's unclear whether he's going to get into the British Open.
That is wild.
You know,
Isn't there?
and technically he won a national open. You would think a national open would get you into the Open Championship.
You have it correct. His best finish aside. So after his win in Mexico, he went T48, cut, T32, T32. That's at the Masters and the RBC Heritage. Then missed the cut at Byron Nelson, T34 at Truist, T55 at the PGA, cut at the Schwab, withdrew at the Memorial, and then got cut at the U.S. Open, and then turns around and wins this tournament. TC, I got a stat for you. He was second to worst in strokes gained off the tee. So, like, not only is he hit it nowhere, he hit 162 ball speed in the playoff. Hit 163 on the 18th hole in regulation. But he finished. I mean, of course, he stacked it up. He was 8th in approach, 11th around the green, 6th in putting, but lost almost 4 shots to the field in driving on the PGA Tour in the year of our Lord 2025 and won another golf tournament. I'm in awe of this dude, man. Like, this is such a freaking epic story.
He just knows how to win, right? It's I would imagine your fancy data golf you know, predicted wins is probably completely broken after Brian Campbell. Right?
That's not how probability works, TC. You know it's not. Doesn't mean it's just because a low probability event happens doesn't mean that it's impossible or doesn't mean the model's broken. It just means there's a lot of golf. You know, don't get me going on all this.
Okay.
You're winding me up.
Okay.
You're gaslighting me.
Okay.
I'm not here for that tonight. We're going to celebrate Mr. Campbell. Or we could take it this other route. The U.S. Ryder Cup captain has said winning changes things when it comes down to captain's picks. How does Keegan put himself on the team ahead of a guy that won twice now after saying that?
I think you put them both on the team. I think you put Novak on the team and you put Brian. I think he had already solidified his spot. You got to start looking at Kevin Roy, David Lipsky, things of that nature as well. No, I mean, it's crazy. Like Brian Campbell, it's his second win of the year, and he's barely cracking the top 30 in the FedEx Cup.
He's moved up to 28th with this win.
And I'll tell you the other crazy thing. Nick Dunlap was the only guy to finish worse than Brian Campbell in strokes gained off the tee, and he finished T11. So
I was gonna say he had a freaking epic week. He was first in putting. This might have been a putting contest a little bit this week, but yeah, there's the guys that have won multiple times on the PGA Tour this season: Rory McIlroy, Sepp Straka, Ben Griffin, Scotty Scheffler, and now Brian Campbell. It's sick.
I'll say Brian Campbell, his statistical, pentagon thing that they do, like to model it out, looks a little bit different from those other names that you mentioned.
Yeah, it really does. He lost. He won in a playoff against Emiliano Grillo. Campbell just stepped right up, hit it right down the middle of the fairway. Grillo hit it into the right rough. I was chasing 3 kids around. Did somebody say a Marshall picked up his ball in the playoff? Was that right?
I didn't see that.
Okay.
I don't know. I was watching on my phone the playoff. I kind of ejected after. I don't know. It could have been an interesting Sunday, and it just didn't really go that direction. I just saw Grillo fail to even chip onto the green, and then it just kind of
airmailed it from the rough. You could tell as soon as he hit it, he knew he caught the flyer that he was hoping he wasn't going to catch. And the short game is not what M has been known for over the years. Missed it short, and an easy 2-putt win for Campbell. But yeah, it was the classic PGA Tour summer event. Like 8 guys had a shot to win there on the back 9. There
were some divots in play. Like I think Grillo got unlucky with a divot at one point. And, listen, I say some things later in this episode about TPC Deere Run that I may regret at this point now after watching this event. the last 4 days.
A rainy, a wet, like balls backing up.
Yeah.
TPC Deer Run is not the most fun. Yeah, we do talk a little about. We like this golf course. It was not in its best
There's a
form.
ton of
There's
variety
good
though of
holes. Yeah,
like even just the dudes that, maybe that's just the putting contest kind of showing but you've got, you got young dudes, you got short dudes, you got old dudes, you got Matt Kuchar, Max Homa played well, you got Nick Dunlap, Gordon Sargent made the cut, Rico Hoey's a bomber, he played well, Jackson Coyven, amateur made the cut. Like it's always an interesting combination of players. Ricky Fowler played well. Patrick Fishburne, he's about as bomb and gouge as it gets on tour. He played well, but there's not a lot of separation, right? You've got 25 guys within 5 shots of the lead there, and it's just there's some good holes, but um, yeah, didn't play its best this week. Put it
yeah.
that
I
way.
mean, it rained pretty darn hard there on the front nine on this Sunday. Max had such a great start. Birdies 2, 3, and 4. Hit an absolute seed into the third. I'm sorry, he birdied. Oh yeah, he did birdie 2, 3, and 4, but gave it back with bogeys on 5 and 9 to shoot just one under on the front. But hit an awesome shot into 3 after the 2-putt birdie on the second hole. Looked like it might be his day. That got him to 17 under. He ended up finishing 2 shots out of the playoff. Had a good look from 9 feet on the 17th hole. Had a good look from 8 feet 9 inches on the 18th hole to miss both of those. I had my under 68.5. I just needed one of those 2 putts to fall. I got roasted by the online community yet again for another missed pick. But what are we taking away from this week from Max? We know we're looking for signs. He moves up to 98th in the FedEx Cup list. And again, that's not what we're looking for from our guy, but inside the top 100, heading the right direction, absolutely shipping it off the tee in the mid 180s, like quite easily out there. Had 145 in on the 18th hole, which used to be a long par 4. Like, are we taking, I know it's TPC Deer Run, not the strongest field. What are we taking away from this?
It doesn't look all that comfortable, or like it looks like he's working hard. It's kind of laborious, but like it seems like he's making progress, and which I love to see. So, curious to see how he sets up his schedule here the remainder of the year as well. Just is he going to go play Wyndham? Kind
I
of
think he's
events
got
like
to.
that, right? He's got to,
Yeah.
right? So, kind of just play your way out of the funk, right? And hope you play well instead of just beating your head against the wall, kind of. So, but yeah, I think I don't know, like the place that I go here is I think Michael Thorbjornsen's got to be kicking himself. Like, that's the one that shot 63 today, final round. He was one of the favorites coming in. He played really well here last year. 70, 65, 73, 63, and just didn't get off the bus on Saturday. So finished 5 shots back, and again, if that's a 68 on Saturday, he's in a playoff. Who knows if he goes out and shoots 63 today, but yeah, just one of those things. I think, like, I don't know, Davis Thompson as well. Like, he was kind of right there. Kind of petered out a little bit, early this round, but like he was kind of right in the mix. He shot 63 on Friday, and he was getting a lot of the airtime on Friday. And this is kind of one of those tournaments where it's like, man, you got to put 4 rounds in the mid 60s together to really get it done.
Yeah, you
Otherwise, you're
can't
gonna
have an
get
off
lapped.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't. It's gonna go very quickly. I mean, this is the best result of the year for Max. His best finish prior was T12 at the Masters of all places. I mean, yeah, and he had a T30 at the Truist, but otherwise his best finish since then was T51 at Memorial. So, seen some flashes, seen a couple good rounds here and there, but this was his best 4-day effort, and he's gonna, couple regrets. The tee shot driving into the rough on 15 ended up leading to a bogey, and driving into the rough on 17 made it so he couldn't go for the green on the par 5 and 2, and he still missed the 2 short putts coming in. Like, it was right there for him still. I'm sure he's probably pretty frustrated today, but that's about as we've not seen him maintain ball striking for 4 days, and to come in and be 6th in driving, 15th in approach. The short game let him down a little bit this week, but as we've mentioned in the past, that could mean you're leaving yourself in bad spots. It could be a little bit misleading. It's not always going to tell a great story that small of a sample, but to be hitting the ball that good, again, I don't know what a reasonable expectation is through the rest of this year for him, but that's a solid ass sign. Like it really is. It's different than like if he just had a really good putting week and it didn't look sustainable. That was like the best I've seen him hit the ball. Irons were really accurate when he really needed them down the stretch. That iron he hit into 16 was really, really, really good. Iron into 18 was good after an excellent tee shot. So I don't know, man. I'm of course drinking the Max Kool-Aid. But that was really encouraging to see. Tough Sunday, but I don't know. That was very nice to see. I'm optimistic
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, it's a buying sign, right?
for sure.
Sally, you got your Jupiter Lynx hat on. Is there
Yeah.
any off-season moves so far for them? Or are they?
No, I mean Max has got me really excited for the season coming
Yeah.
up, and I don't know, kind of obviously we'll have the number 1 overall draft pick, and who knows, Jackson Coyven, he comes up as an amateur in this event, finishes T11. This was not a planned transition, by the way. Second in putting, an amateur out here playing on the PGA Tour, and third off the tee. Come out here with listen, it's a mule event, but I'm always curious to see some of these guys when they get up there, how their game, the individual components of their game, how it stacks up to the rest of the field. And to come out and do those two things, and I mean, his iron play was a wreck, and the approach numbers were. If he has like a decent week with the irons, he might win this week.
Yeah.
And so you have my curiosity, Jackson. Now you have my attention. I'm not ready to put him on the team just yet, but one more good start, and I think we got to talk about it, TC.
Okay. He beat Clanton, who I think is one of my top players not to have won a major.
You and
yet,
DJ
so,
said he was one of the top 10 players on planet Earth that has not won a major.
Yeah, big group at -3. Takumi Kanaya, David Ford, Sammy Valimaki, a couple others that missed the cut. But why did Potgieter WD just to get over to Scotland?
I don't think I saw a reason. Where was he on the board when he?
Well, he shot
did it?
67, 66, and then he shot 76 on Saturday.
Got it. I mean, that could have been a contributing injury of some
And I don't
kind,
think they gave a reason. Like, I don't like. It's like normally they'll tweet out a reason or whatever. But
usually you can kind of a week after a win, you can kind of excuse like, yeah, I'm kind of toast, man. I'm just going to go ahead and get over to Scotland.
Yeah.
It's hard to get too upset.
And the
about that
Scottish courses should suit him quite nicely.
Renaissance.
Any other? I'm trying to think of any other things to call out. Gordon Sargent made the cut. I think that's notable, and just that he's been struggling like crazy with his game here for the last 6, 8, 12 months. And he's doing it without, like, he putted well. He's doing it without playing well off the tee. He was 57th off the tee. So irons weren't good. Chipping wasn't good, but he hit 31 fairways this week, which I think was way up over what he did in Detroit with the first event of the Mule Drive, the Midwest Mule Drive that we've got going on here.
How did he make the cut? I mean, he was out of 64 guys, he was 57th off the tee, 58th at approach, 62nd around the greens. But
that said, I mean, he played. He played pretty poorly on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday you go backwards. If you look at stats through 2 days, that might tell a different story. But yeah, it's a weird.
No, he shot 67 on Friday, almost last of the field in driving. It might just be an improper test.
Well, it's definitely that. But am I impressed with that, or am I concerned with that? I think I'm concerned with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think.
It is a bit of an unserious golf tournament, if we're being totally honest. It's a nice Midwest event. It's a lower tier event, but it's just like trying to decipher, filter through the numbers on this, and it doesn't really make much of a sense. But create some decent drama down the stretch. David Lipsky had a really good chance to get in that playoff. He was tied for the lead, getting to the 18th hole, and hit a really tough hook on 18. Had a great look, a par putt that he definitely thought he made. I thought he made that hit the lip. And unfortunately, he finished a shot out of the playoff, shooting 68. He moves up to 115th in the FedEx Cup.
That's the thing. You got guys just starting to jockey now. Like Carson Young's up 20 spots to 132. Lucas Glover's kind of having a better year than I thought. He's up to 23rd. Your guy Jacob Bridgman up 4 spots, 33rd to 29th, inching closer to that Ryder Cup spot.
Coming for Keegan's spot.
Kuchar Kurt Kitayama, he's had a quiet one. He was T5 as well. So
Austin Eckroat as well finished T11. He moves up to 93rd in the standings. We're gonna be that 100 watches. Just it's a little different, man. That 100 versus 125, and it's definitely SZN to start looking at that.
yeah.
On the flipping over the Euro Tour,
I will say Eckroat though pretty safe for the most because he's been stacking wins. Stacked 2 wins the last couple of years, right?
That should I think you're exactly right. And you can go to their PGA Tour page and see bio.
But like Chris Ventura played well.
Through 2027, he's exempt, yes.
Okay.
And Max is exempt through 2028 for anybody curious.
Okay.
Which I didn't really. I guess I feel like I've realized this like 3 different times that multiple wins, like it keeps extending your extension. Yeah. I was.
You can start stacking discounts. And
you cannot do it in our shop, but at the PGA Tour, you can absolutely stack whatever codes.
The other guy that's got to feel a little bit like you let it get away is Doug Gim. You know, native of Illinois, shot 62 first round. Tough Saturday, 74. So, and I know Saturday they went off early. They played threesomes, all that, but he needs a couple good finishes to get inside that top 100.
I'm just gonna say it because it's worth acknowledging and it's true. Going back to like early May, Ricky Fowler playing some decent golf. Not gonna get sucked into the Ryder Cup thing. We're not doing that again. We've moved on from that. But he was T15 at Truist, T16 at the Schwab, T7 at Memorial on a sponsors exemption, T18 this week. I mean, that's 4 top 20s in his last 7 starts for Rick.
It's good golf. He pooped in the potty. It's good golf.
It is expected from him at this point, but it's a bound.
Like
he had a really tough 2024.
Really good player. So
really tough last year.
Yeah. Kevin Roy was getting a little snippy on X, the Everything app with our guy Joseph Lamagna about did you see this? The rake thing. The rules official let him rake. I don't know if it was in front of or behind his ball. And I guess it wasn't in the line of the swing or whatever, but I don't know why you would want to rake it if it wasn't. Joseph was questioning it. Kevin snapped back and said, "Hey, that this was farther away, and there was no controversy whatsoever." So it was just an interesting back and forth.
Yeah, I feel like we end up so often in these rules issues that are like, all right, so we got a rules official involved, and the rules official said he could do it. Yet
we just don't trust the tour. Right?
I know.
That's the issue.
Yeah. But then, like, also, or I was team Sam Burns should have got a drop at the U.S. Open.
The commentators were also confused as to why he was being allowed to do this. So,
yeah, I mean, I totally agree. If it wasn't his way, why would he care about raking it? But yeah, he did get chippy. I can easily clear this up for you, buddy, and save your fingers from typing away so much. First off, I called a rules official over. TV made the footprint look much closer than it actually was. And since the footprint was not in my way of playing the next shot, we were able to rake it. Now, if the footprint was in the way, therefore, we would not been able to rake it.
But like, why do you even think to rake the footprint if it's not in your way?
I don't know. Just aesthetically, it's a tough thing to be reminded of. I don't know. Probably not that big of a deal.
Anyway,
but fun
it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's the John Deere Classic, and that's what we're talking about here.
On that note, let's move over. Dan Brown, we need to put him on the team yet for winning on the DP World Tour. You worried about that at all?
No, I think we're good. I think he's just getting ready for Dan Brown season. He played well last year. This middle of the summer, right?
It's very, very true. That's worth pointing out.
We've got Uncle Yost playing well. He was a few back. You had Christopher Ritan from Norway. We may have to get him on the team. He keeps playing quite nicely. We're so early in this thing. We have so many different options, Soly. We're not showing our cards. You guys are in dire straits right now.
Interesting. You're willing to put Keegan on the team over on the U.S. side, but Europe. Hey, we're still waiting. We're waiting to get this figured out. That's interesting.
As mentioned, played well. Puig, he's got this mustache going. He looks more and more like a young Corey Pavin.
Corey Pavon. As mentioned, Lottie Woad won the KPMG Women's Irish Open by 6 shots. Lottie's still an amateur. For the record, won it over Madeline Sagstrom. There were 3 players within 10 shots of her at Carton House over there. It was wildly, wildly impressive from Lottie. Of course, the Augusta National Women's Amateur Champion from a year ago. Anything else?
She's not even here yet, right? And she's already dominating. It's crazy.
Coming.
Yeah, no, I think the course that the DP World Tour was playing in Munich, very funny. It was in there was a guy putting with a backwards hat on at one point.
Marcel, I flipped it on him. Marcel Sieb was just putting. He had his hat on back. He was just wearing it backwards. He wasn't just putting with it. He was just wearing his hat backwards, and it was not raining. Like I was just, I didn't know that was allowed, on the DP World Tour, but apparently it is. They're just vibing their faces off over there.
Yeah. No, otherwise I think, I was impressed with Lottie's win, especially there were some other good players on that leaderboard as well. There was some depth playing over on the Ladies European Tour. Continuing to monitor the Ladies European Tour, the Alexandra Armas, the commissioner, left, and there's rumors of the Saudis getting involved on that side of things.
Coming.
What else? I'm clearing out the notebook here. Our friend of the program, Will Grimmer, shot 66, 66, 66 at Firestone to win the Ohio Open. I wanted to shout him out. And then I saw Zach Johnson wearing a skull cap under his hat this week, and it just made me wonder what's going on there. What's going on there? I don't know if it's aeration, or kind of
maybe some seeding going on there. Might be one of those things you put on your garden to make sure weeds don't pop up when you're trying to grow a bunch of stuff.
Might be flying over to Istanbul soon. I don't know. We'll see. So that could be the first stop on the way to.
First stop is always
Northern Ireland, right?
That's exactly right. All right. Well, let's get to the main event. I got to tell you though, TC, I've been heavily influenced by one DJ Pyhowski. He's been telling me about stack wedges for quite some time, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's probably whatever. Made a little reel about it. I'm like, gosh, I want to go try that. And I have stacked wedge 3 times in the past week. Go to thestacksystem.com/NLU, code no laying up for all of the great benefits of the stack system. You've heard me talk about the speed stuff. You heard me talk about the putting, but I had not tried the wedges until now. TC, you can literally, in the course of doing one of these sessions, feel yourself improve during it. Of like, you got to hit a 51-yard shot. And your first one versus your fourth, it feels completely different. Like, when do you ever go to the range and like try to set out to hit the same distance multiple times? Like, to have the measurement spit right back at you, give you a point system, have you mix up the court. You only get to hit 4 shots in a row the same distance. So it mixes it up a little bit to make sure you're not just pounding away, hitting the same shots. And it tells you what your biases are. Like, I'm struggling on the 40-yard shots right now, but like 80 yards, I'm real good right now. And it's awesome. I'm back up on my speed stuff. We're getting there. Touch 171 ball speed this week, and I needed a little something else. Had a stressful day yesterday. Went in the backyard and got a stack wedge system in before I went to bed. It was awesome. It was great. Like, it's a fantastic system. So stacksystem.com/NLU, code no laying up. It is a great tool to get you better at golf. It's not just speed. They got a great putting system. Neil is getting steep on the putting stuff. Now I'm joining Deej on the wedge stuff. You can play game. You can do competitions against people as well. So
I feel like the game being able to gamify practice. Yes. That's what I need.
Yeah. So again, stacksystem.com/NLU, code no laying up. You will not regret it. All right, TC, the main event. We talk about golf courses a lot on this podcast. We critique a lot of golf courses on this podcast. We get a lot of comments. You guys just hate every golf course that exists out there. I wanted to put this to the test. We've talked about doing this for quite some time. Of, maybe we make like an entire, we rank every course on the PGA Tour, which is hard to do. Do we give every course on the PGA Tour a pass-fail grade? Not that fun to do. So with a hat tip to Joseph Lamagna from the Fried Egg, he does a lot of these tier related posts, comes up with his own categories for a bunch of stuff. If you're watching this on the video version, we're flashing up an image of it. I know that he has done this, but TC, I went out of my way. I have not read the contents of this post. Maybe I did when he posted it, but I did
Okay.
not want to anchor myself in any way to what he had come up with, including we each had to come up with our own tiers. We have not seen each other's tiers. And the only limitation we have is you have 8 categories that you have to put all of the courses on the PGA Tour into. A couple things to get out in front of. I did not include the Canadian Open, as that is an event that moves around a lot. I don't know if
The Ontario Open.
Okay, I had a feeling that was coming. Did not include the new ISCO site, which is Hurstbourne Country Club. I don't believe we've seen that one yet. If we have, I did not watch. Tahoe Mountain Club for Barracuda, I believe, is also new. I could be wrong there, but
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't know what to
And
do
it
with
sounds
that
like
one.
they may need a title sponsor to even continue. And then we're not doing the fall series as well.
No fall series and no BMW championship, which is also
Yeah.
an event that moves around. So I'm going to toss it to you to go first. But
Oh,
first, I
wow.
want you to give me what your 8 tiers of PGA Tour courses are.
All right. This is very much kind of all encompassing. It's like, is this a good pro golf course? Because there's
Yes.
certain pro golf courses that aren't courses that necessarily I would want to play, but I looked at it through that lens. I looked at it through, is it interesting on TV? Is it a good spectator course? All that stuff. Like basically, does all this stuff add up to an interesting PGA Tour event? Year after year or consistently.
Which it could include,
Yeah.
does that include crowd environment, turnout, and setting,
Yeah, like
and things like that?
and it's tough to separate that out. So you'll see that in some of my tiers as
Okay.
well of and just like time of year that they play it too. Like I know that's not the course's fault, but also, hey, like it was, that's part of the thing with like Trinity Forest back in the day with the Byron Nelson of like, playing that in May down in Dallas, like that's just not going to work, right? So, without further ado, I've got best in class, I've got above average and interesting on TV. I've got above average, I don't really love it, not that interesting on TV, but good pro golf venue. I've got above average, but doesn't translate at all to TV. I've got adequate, but potential exists. Adequate, but maxed out / would be better with a rollback. Below average, again, relatively speaking. Um, or just kind of bad, relatively speaking. And then I've got 10 layers of dog shit before we reach this last category.
I know one course that's going to be
Yeah.
in that one. I'm going to go. I'm going to have you go through your courses first, but I'm going to give you my 8 tiers
Okay.
I came up with as well, which I don't love. I really wanted 9, and I made the rule for 8 because there's one course that I don't know what exactly to do with. It doesn't really fit any of
Okay.
my categories, but my top category is legitimately great venues. That
Okay.
just kind of full stop. These are great. Next up is Hall of Very Good. Instead of Hall of Famers, there's a lot of Major
Fred
League
McGriff.
Baseball players out there.
Right.
He's a Hall of Famer. No, he made the Hall of Fame.
He made the Hall of Fame? Oh,
He
wow.
did.
Okay.
Players that have been
Murphy, maybe. Yeah.
there. Brian Giles. How about that? 51 Ward. Not a lot of people know that. But very good player, but not a Hall of Famer. Like, there's a whole separate class of Hall of Very Good. Third tier is big name, not bad, but boring. There's a kind of a lot of courses that fell into that one. Fourth tier is good for what it is. 5 could be good with rollback. 6, not bad, but still not, quote, it. 7 is quite forgettable. And 8 is blow it up, which I like your definition of 10 layers of dog shit a lot better. But those are my 8 tiers. I'm very fascinated to see how yours break out. So take this
Yeah.
which order you want to go in.
Well, I think it's also important to realize that I think some of these middle tiers aren't necessarily like one's not necessarily better than the other. They're almost
Exactly.
like stacked next to one another. Different categories there. So we'll start with best in class. I've got TPC, Sawgrass, Riviera, and Harbortown. I think all three of those defend like they don't necessarily favor a certain kind of player. They're all pretty agnostic, which I really value in a golf course of, hey, anybody in the field, regardless of whether you're a bomber or a good putter or whatever, like there's certain things that, are kind of overweighted in the modern game. And I think the best golf courses sift through that a little bit better than the other ones and make it so that, hey, it's not vastly weighted to a bomber versus someone who's predicated more on accuracy. So
What's interesting there too is those are
Yeah.
three very different golf courses, right? And I think again we're viewing this through the lens of PGA Tour events. PBC Sawgrass, especially, and
Yeah.
Riviera are very, very, very different styles. Why do both of those? You gave the kind of distance agnostic reason there, but describe like what makes Riviera great and what makes TPC Sawgrass great. Then we'll get to Harbortown.
I think with Riviera, I mean, even for me too, like there's just certain stuff on like I like the trees. I like the variety. I like the first hole. The mowing lines are disgrace right now, but like first hole in the 18th, like there's a sense of place. It's iconic. You know, you can't fake your way around there. There's the barrancas, there's short grass. You know, the Kikuyu is kind of, you know, a little bit of a variable on that front, but yeah, I don't know. There's a sense of history with it, right? I think Sawgrass it's a great spectator venue. You get it's set up for excitement down the stretch. I think that's something underrated. Harbortown is another Pete Dye. Like two of the three of these are Pete Dye golf courses, right? And Harbortown is I don't know. I think it's a more compact piece of land as well. Like I think I appreciate that about golf courses too, of when you can go to a tournament or even watching it on TV and there is it's on a like they've maximized that piece of land versus just having 500 acres, sprawling acres, and you know, the seventh hole is 3 miles from the third hole, kind of stuff.
It's got
Um,
character too. That's just kind of
yeah,
something that just kind of you can't really fake or you can't do man-made in a lab. Some like of some modern golf courses that I really like, we really tend to like, end up feeling a bit characterless. I'm not like maybe picking on PGA on Frisco a little bit in its current form of look, is it striking to watch on television and do you have a great sense of place there? No, not yet. It's brand new. It's something that you got to earn over many, many years. But I think that's kind of part of the equation here as well.
yeah. I think does it have energy on site, right? Like I like watching. I think it's probably two of these three are televised by CBS, but like I think there's really good fan atmosphere on site. I think that goes into character. That goes into how big of a site is it? Is it easy to walk and watch? So
Two by CBS and NBC's good one, like the
exactly,
TBC saw
yeah,
at the Players. That's their biggest
yeah,
effort.
yeah. So yeah, so that's my top tier. I thought a couple of these other ones, above average and interesting on TV. I think those had certain elements that could have gotten them into the top tier, but they've got other elements that kind of don't exist either. So without further ado on those, Muirfield Village, Kapalua, Pebble Beach, TPC Scottsdale, and an upset, Innisbrook. I love watching
Mm,
Innisbrook.
mm.
Muirfield Village, I think just I don't know, it's just a really good golf course. And I think there's a few bad holes in there and not the easiest of walks, but again, pretty agnostic on, it's a second shot golf course. A wide variety of guys can win that. It's difficult, but there's still a lot of birdies out there. It's just it's exciting golf. Kapalua, above average, certainly interesting on TV. One of the best tournaments to watch on TV, especially if they get some wind and stuff. But
How
missing
does
that factor of like it's on a compact piece of land
yeah,
and there's
yeah.
vibes and stuff.
Well, yeah, no, you're not looking for a golf course to practice the same template on repeat
Yeah,
week after week is one thing, but
yeah.
two, how if I'm listening to this, a lot of people don't like birdie fests. We tend to say we don't like birdie fests of some kind. How did that factor into any of your equation of putting any of this together? Because Kapalua is a birdie fest, but it gets a great grade from you. I have a feeling I understand why, but just for the listeners' sake.
Yeah, it's all predicated upon the how, right? It's a
Yeah.
par 73, the ball's on the ground. It's not just bomb and gouge. It's probably the widest golf course in the PGA Tour. But guys got to play creatively,
Yeah.
and you can play creatively to get the ball in the hole. And
It's not
you
stock
know,
shots on repeat.
yeah, and
That's
lag
the main thing.
putting is important, and you're landing the ball short of a green, or it's just interesting golf, right? And it's a total change up. Where like, I don't think it would work if we had 15 Kapaluas on tour,
Right.
right? Like that would get one note as well. But it's a nice change of pace to what we get, week in, week out. So Mark Rolfing probably plays a factor in that. Him talking about the Kona wins and the trade wins and all of that stuff, like
100%.
the whole vibe. Yeah,
Hits in the winter too. Like, yeah,
totally.
it has a great place on the calendar.
Yeah, Pebble Beach, Pebble Beach. It's probably under realized for what it is, but you know, interesting golf and again hits in the winter. It's a great one to watch these days. Now I think they've done a much better job of showing the golf. Um, and yeah, I think like best in class like, could be a lot better. Uh, so I'm not gonna throw it up into that top tier yet. And then TPC Scottsdale is, I think for a TPC course, I think it's interesting. I've got a TPC course pretty much in every single one of these categories. So,
That's
they kind
interesting.
of
It's not a
they kind of run the
uniform.
gamut. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not a uniform thing of all TPCs are great or all TPCs stink, which I think it becomes kind of a joke. And anytime somebody's taking it super deep, you throw TPC in front of the course. But there are some great examples of TPC golf courses.
I think like that would be a really interesting pod would be like a deep dive on the TPC network.
Yes, it would.
Of just because I think there are a lot of these were purpose built to host PGA Tour events, and they're not able to at this
They're
point.
built at the wrong time, right before the
Yeah.
distance boom. A lot of these TPCs
Well, and the
popped up.
residential plays and all of that too. So yeah, I think they're kind of not fit for purpose on that front. But yeah, Scottsdale I think is everything you want out of a big time, you know, tournament venue. It's got the logistics, it's got the energy. It's maybe too much energy at times. It's got the architecture. Like I think the ball like there's contours on the greens.
So good.
It's kind of we call them ball splitters. It's kind of a it splits, it bisects the green or it splits, a good shot from a great shot or a good shot from a bad shot. So yeah, and just a great finishing cadence. And then I love Innisbrook. I think Innisbrook is like one of, if not the most underrated golf course on tour. It's not in the best of shape. I think they kind of paper over that with some overseeding and such. But yeah, I think I don't know, it's a wild piece of land that you wouldn't think exists in Florida. The par fives are interesting. The par threes are interesting. It's got a good cadence to it. Again, you got to be a pretty good. It's not just a bomb and gouge fest. You got to be a good iron player out there, and it defends par pretty well too. I think it's relatively speaking for the distance. So yeah, so those are kind of above average and interesting on TV. That is like very very good tournament golf courses in my opinion.
Makes
Next
it so.
up, above average. I don't really love it, but it's a very good pro golf venue. That's Bay Hill. That's Quail Hollow. That's TPC San Antonio for me.
Okay.
I think Bay Hill, it's not my kind of golf. It's not all that pleasing to the eye on TV, but I like the way that they firmed it up over the last few years. I like, it plays like that feels like an elevated event. It feels like a signature event. It feels like you're stress testing the best players in the world, kind of for I know Riviera is before that, but really for the first time, I'm like, all right, we are playing Florida golf today. This is the Florida swing, and you're gonna have to drive it well. You're gonna have to hit the shit out of your irons. You're gonna have to putt. I
It's
think,
like the Florida US Open.
yeah, exactly. And there's a little bit of a mental examination to it as well. I think Quail Hollow, we've talked about that ad nauseum. Very good pro golf venue, right? Like it's pleasant to watch on TV. Is it the most interesting thing? No, but it's kind of built to be pro golf venue for better or worse. There's some exciting stuff down the stretch, but is it the kind of exciting that I really value? Not really, but it's still exciting. It's given us good tournaments. Always in
Big
great shape, and yeah,
big points docked for just being a bombers, like just
yeah.
being a bit one note and
That's
just
why
kind of
it's not in the top category. Yeah.
and trending farther in that direction is not
Yeah.
great.
And then TPC San Antonio is one that similar to Frisco a little bit of like, I don't really like it's not really pleasant to watch on TV or like just to I don't know, the colors aren't great. It's just kind of gray and
All the
brownish.
Texas events kind of follow that same kind of theme.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I don't know, there's something about it that it's a Greg Norman design. It's really tough. The wind typically blows a little bit. It's typically pretty firm. Par threes are tough. There's a lot of places to get in trouble out there. There's some big numbers on the card, and I think there's a lot of variance. I like variance, right? And we've had, kind of again, just pretty agnostic, right? There's a wide variety of winners out there, and got to be a shot maker out there. So yeah, that's kind of the above average. The above average doesn't translate to TV. I'm gonna put Colonial on this Charles Schwab Challenge.
Sure.
I think it's improved with the Gil Hanse renovation, but I still think, and this probably could have gone in the adequate but maxed out, would be better with Rollback as well. But I think it kind of rises above that because I think if they would have put Bermuda in, it would be even more difficult and more of an iron player's test.
On the
I
greens, you're
thi-
saying this is
yeah,
bent greens.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the bent greens kind of wash things out a little bit. But it's just one of those places. It's got history. It's got character. Um, it's played Memorial Day weekend, which is not the best. Probably not the best. Like this one in the fall. I mean, a lot of these in the fall would be awesome. A bunch of hardwoods out there. They'll be changing colors and stuff. But yeah, Colonials, it's good. And like if there's a good leaderboard, it's great on TV. If there's not a good leaderboard, it's just kind of like another PGA Tour event. And it's very flat. It just doesn't, it's not going to pop on TV. TPC Deer Run
Hmm.
is another one that I think this is like a really good. Having been out there a few years ago, I like the golf course. I think there's more there than meets the eye. There's good short par fours. It's a nice piece of land. They keep it really lush, but it's right there by the river. Shout out to Zach Johnson. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of above average TPC course for me. Again, I think it's pretty agnostic on like wide variety of players have won there. It's a good springboard for young players. So yeah, that's a good one. TPC River Highlands. I tend to like this is where Joseph Lamagna. We've been back and forth on this. I really like this golf course. I think again this one could probably fall in the adequate but maxed out would be better with a rollback. But I think there's elements of it that I really and we saw it unfortunately play out a few weeks ago with Fleetwood and Keegan of just it's got a good cadence to it. Like you got to hit the golf shots. It's not just a birdie fest. Like you got to go earn the birdies. If you get a little bit of wind out there, it definitely. I think the 18th hole has definitely been completely neutralized by technology. And 16 is not a great par three, but I think it's at least interesting. But I think like 15 could be all world. Like it could be a lot better course, but I think it's got great crowds. Like the locals just support the hell out of that tournament. And I don't know. I look forward to this one on the calendar every year. And I
Well, and
think,
it's a testament to the TPC stuff that's like the amphitheater like surroundings around the greens create an environment that
yeah,
does transfer to television. Like it feels like a bigger event. You feel the crowd involvement in it, and that's a win for the golf course, right? Like that's a
yeah.
design element of some of these golf courses is to create these hills and stuff for people to get plenty of views on and bring the energy.
Which the craziest part about that is like this wasn't even built as a TPC course.
Right.
It was built, and then granted they've added some of those elements down the stretch, but yeah, it was just built as kind of a just a regular New England golf course, and it's since been kind of brought up to spec on that. So my last one in this category is Memorial Park in Houston. I think this is a very good golf course, and it's just not like again, it's Texas. It's pretty flat. It's just not translating to TV. But I think like guys have to hit interesting golf shots and make some decisions at this one. And I haven't loved the setup of it. I don't think this is one that like I wish they didn't overseed it. It's just played on some like I think the overseeding thing is like it's going against kind of how the architecture was intended and the ball on the ground and all of that. I know they're trying to make it so that guys can get ready for Augusta and all of that stuff, but I just think that's neutering the advantage that guys born in the Southeast or guys that have are good at on Bermuda really have.
It
So
reduces a lot of variables, really. I
yeah,
mean, when that event was in the fall, I think it's 13, that short par four. That was so interesting to watch with just
right.
figuring out how you're going to play bump shots and whatnot around that green. And it does feel a lot more one note now that just tons of green grass everywhere.
Next up, I've got adequate but potential exists. I've got Torrey on here. That's the lead one. I just think, just like Pebble, you could probably make an argument that it's best in class. I don't think it is in its current state, and I think Torrey could be, above average and interesting on TV, but I'm just left too often like wanting more out of Torrey. Of like, man, they're like this hole could be like I can't unsee the warts, or I can't unsee how much better it could be and how much more exciting the questions being asked could be. So, I'd
I
say,
mean, that's the thing
yeah,
is like it's a public municipal golf course. Like
yeah.
it's kind of caught in between both of those identities because I think the setup, kind of the thick rough thing is not great for either television or public golf play. Uh, and so you're almost kind of getting the worst of both worlds, I think, out of it. But like it is not tailor made to be a professional golf course.
Well, I think the most frustrating part about that dichotomy is they spent like I don't know, 20 to 30 million dollars with Reese Jones back in the early 2000s to make it a pro golf test, and they just spent the money on the wrong stuff or with the
Yeah.
wrong guy, and that's what's kind of most frustrating there. I put PGA National on here. I think similar to some of those, like it's not my kind of golf course, but I think you need stuff like that to challenge the best players in the world. I think the the direction that they've gone in over the last couple of years, I'm kind of setting that aside a little bit here of like to make the golf course easier and overseed it and all of that. Like that stinks. And that's the whole point of that place is to challenge the hell out of these guys. Again, Florida golf, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think potential exists if they bring it back to its roots a little bit there. I put Detroit on here. I'm not willing, like I could probably put it in the adequate, maxed out, better with rollback kind of thing. I think that one was really showing its, kind of showing its age, or showing, just needed to be dusted off, which is what they're doing, right? I think is it Tyler
Also,
Ray's coming in there?
also just don't need the ball to go that far. Like it's just the ball's going
Yeah,
farther every year. And it's showing its age is not the golf course's fault. And that's the part that's super
yeah.
frustrating.
But even like some of the grass was, just a little bit. It's just showing some wear and tear, kind of like how Colonial was prior to. But I don't know. I think there are interesting holes out there. I would love to see him do like a composite between the two. The other course out there is really
There's 3 holes on the
interesting.
south course, yeah.
Yeah. But, like I put that one in there, potential exists, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because I know they're about to redo that place. I put Renaissance on here over in Scotland. I think it's gotten better over the last few years, and I think it'll continue to get better. They're fully committed to that venue with its proximity to Edinburgh, and just, all the sponsors and everything, and staying on site. So I think the par threes need to get a lot better and just more interesting there. But overall, like it's an interesting, like it's got a good setting on TV. I like watching the tournament, but man, it could be great, right?
Yeah. It's just
Um,
hard that that's the Scottish venue we see every what I mean? It just doesn't
yeah.
represent Scottish
Well,
golf that well,
and I
but
think
that's
that's kind of like, hey, like, all right, if you guys want to have an event there every year, then like give us one that bumps around the British Isles a little bit more. So, last one, Pete Dye Stadium out at PGA West. I think this was built to be, you know, the hardest of the hard, and it's just a matter of, hey, this like the stuff that challenged guys way back when, it's just out of scale now.
yeah,
But I still think it's a really cool golf course, and I enjoy watching it down the stretch. And it's just getting dinged major points for like being a sleepy ass event in
up
late
against
January.
up
And
against the NFL
yeah,
playoffs, yeah.
yeah. And then, and it's overseeded, and it's just kind of just not the greatest spectacle. So adequate but maxed out would be better with rollback. I put Waialae. I always enjoy watching this one. It's, it gets a bump for being in Hawaii, and interesting. I think there's just, some of the shot making has kind of been diluted a little bit just with, the ball
Sure.
not spinning. I put Punta Cana. I think Punta Cana is probably a best in class like resort course. I think it's better than some of the other ones they have opposite field events at, or fall series events. Like if like I would put Black Desert in like the above average, don't really love
That
it,
was
but
fun.
cool,
Yeah.
like pro golf venue, like we're not doing the fall series, but I think that's where it's like those are the two that I don't know. Punta Cana, I look forward to watching that one. I think it's pretty agnostic for who wins that one as well.
Get some
Uh
conditions out in that one too. Almost all.
yeah.
I think that's a credit to the actual golf course.
And then I put the Dunes Club at Myrtle too. I just think like that's a good golf course and it's just, it's probably not relevant as much these days just with rollback. It's not a great event or anything, but I don't know. I think that's just a decent golf course. Below average, relatively speaking, or just bad. I put TPC Louisiana, which this is a Pete Dye course. I don't know how much Pete Dye actually did. Seemed like this one was more his associates. There's some interesting holes for sure, but it's just I just think it's pretty tough to build interesting golf on that land in Louisiana. I mean, you think you've played it before,
I
but
think we did, but I can't remember. Like in 2011, we went to WVU LSU game. We played somewhere, and we can't. Every time it comes on TV, my dad and I are like, "Did we play? Did we play? I think we did. No, I don't think we did." Which, yeah, that kind of tells the story. I think you can guess which category of mine that's going to go into.
Grand Reserve, which is the one down in Puerto Rico, they've bumped this one around a little bit, but it seems like just one of those, just not a lot going on, near the water, but not on the water kind of thing. TBC Twin Cities, that place stinks, like straight up. Like it's just bad. It's just not it doesn't reward the right stuff.
It got
It's
above a category that I thought that one was going to go into.
Yeah. I mean, it probably could have gone in the lowest category. Vidanta Vallarta, I threw this one here as well. It's just not it. And then I've got East Lake as well.
Wow.
I don't care what they do with it. I don't care. It doesn't come through on TV. It is I don't like the golf course. And I think it's getting knocked. Like, is it that bad of a golf course? No, but it's getting knocked because like they have what they want to be the Super Bowl out there
Right.
every year, and it'd be like having the Super Bowl at MetLife Stadium every year. Just like it's just bland and
Wrong time
it's
of
just
year.
yeah, it's just not a good canvas for golf, in my opinion. And then we've got the 10 layers of shit before we reach the last category. So really I've got like 18 categories, right?
Just
Um,
there's no courses that are
yeah,
in the 10 above this one. I'll allow
yeah.
it.
And it's TBC Craig Ranch. I don't even think I have to explain it. It's just bad. It's horrible. I can't wait to see what Lanny does to the place. Talk to people who belong there who are like, actually, like we've looked at this, and the golf course would play much more dramatically and much more interesting if you routed it the opposite direction, the exact same corridors, and you just played the golf course backwards, and certain greens are where tees are and all of that. And I'm like, and I've looked at it and I'm like, you are exactly right. Like the shot value
Do
would
it.
be so much better.
Do it, Lanny. Come on. I doubt that's part of the scope of the redo, but
Yeah.
if they made it reversible, that's probably going to get it out of this bottom category, I think. So,
But I mean, solid. I think my biggest takeaway has been like, there's a lot of really good golf courses on the PGA
that
Tour, and
that
and I
was
think
yeah.
I think we shit on it a lot, and I think some of it is we get desensitized to certain places because we see them every year. I think some of it's a lack of variety or going to the wrong places at the wrong time. But I think if we had just a few more tournaments that moved around more, we would appreciate like I I don't think we would be left wanting or left kind of grass is greener on the other side of the fence as much with the existing courses. Like we would look forward to the existing courses if there was a little bit more variety and a few more BMW championships that bumped around. Like that's always a spot on the calendar. Same thing with Truist this year with Philly Cricket. Like I look forward to the majors and to the BMW championship because we get variety.
And there's part of it, yeah, I'm torn on that because part of what makes some of these venues rise up a little bit is the history and the knowledge of knowing what's coming and what happens if you go right on 16 and what
Yeah.
happens if you go left on 17 on certain courses. I'm with you in that I like the variety of like a Philly cricket. And I think like we've had to part of the covering golf as long as we have now at this point is almost just getting over the fact that like you can go down the list of the top 100 golf courses in the US and 80 to 90% of them get thrown out immediately
Yeah.
because of technology. and I've accepted that now, right? I've moved on from like what makes a great golf course might be different than what makes for a good pro venue.
Yeah.
And where we were maybe harder 8-10 years ago on the PGA Tour for venue selection, I think it makes, they've done a better job with venue selection, I think, over the last decade or so. And I guess my understanding of why they choose the venues within the scope of what they have to choose, I feel like it's an overall pretty good slate. And when it's a not so great golf course, it's like a almost purposeful dip in the calendar, right? You can't
Mhm.
be all bangers all the time. And there's only a couple that are really misplaced of just like Torrey is always like feel like
Yeah.
it should be a primo spot in the calendar, and it's just a golf course that comes up short. But that's kind of rare when you really do go week by week. And yeah, I've got more positive categories than I do negative on the PGA Tour.
Yeah. I
So
think the other thing is just logistics as well. Like, man, you
yeah,
just got to have a lot of space for stuff. And yeah, like we're talking about a pretty small sample size, but at the end of the day, like it kind of goes back to, hey, well, how do we have a big TPC network, and why aren't there more great TPC courses around the country? Like, and I think, I mean, shit, you look at it with Canada, even of like, there's like a handful of courses in the entire country of Canada that can host a PGA Tour.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
All right, I'm gonna get to mine. This is
Yeah.
gonna be a little easier because we have a lot of similarities in how we do it. Again, my tiers are a little different than yours. They're legitimately great venues. There's Hall of Very Good, big name, not bad but boring, good for what it is, could be good with rollback, not bad but still not quote it, quite forgettable, and blow it up.
Okay.
So my legitimately great venues, I went a little tighter than you did. I have Riviera and TPC Sawgrass as my legitimately great venues. Riviera is best in class. It is number one. It is a great golf course to play. It is all those elements, yet at the same time challenges pro golfers in an expert level way. Firm greens, almost it speaks to almost everything there. It allows them to have short rough, which I think makes for way more interesting golf shots. Yet guys are not able to generate enough spin when they're playing out of the rough into those firm greens. I think the worst places you can end up. Why I think we see so much thick rough on the PGA Tour is because they struggle to get the greens as firm as they are in a location like Riviera. So I think thick rough makes for more boring golf, but I think it makes sense on a lot of golf courses as a way of protecting somewhat of shot value of the shots off the tee. Whereas Riviera is kind of like hit it wherever you want. You're going to get a little minimal punishment for it. Like your shot from the fairway is going to be hard, and your shot from the rough is going to be harder. Like that's just the whole element of it. And
Bermuda
you're
rough too. It's not,
correct,
it's not the overseeded shit where they grow it up
right?
4 inches, and like that's not going to punish these guys. It's the iffiness of a lie and sitting down with the
and
Bermuda.
and I'm not going to do the whole debating chasing angles thing, but there are certain holes where like you hit it on a bad line in the wrong angle off the tee, you're going to pay a price. Think about that third hole. If you play too far right there, you're toast. Like you cannot hold that green even with lob wedges to some of these holes. And that's best in class for me. Like that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Really hard to replicate. It does not get replicated throughout the rest of the calendar. Sometimes conditions get dialed up really great for a particular course one year or another, but like Riviera is the one that consistently does all of that. TPC Sawgrass, I think, is like the best of the worst of pro golf, of like massive amounts of overseed, green, mud balls, just from man-made,
Just
yeah,
from the necessity of having to dump
yes,
millions of gallons of water on the place to get the overseed to
yeah.
take.
And they're struggling with the course condition, man. I was out there a
Yeah.
couple days ago, and the course is closed right now, like because they've just, when they getting rid of that overseed into the Bermuda season, like the golf course is not recovering very well, and it's really struggling to say. But like they invest everything they have into making that the tournament golf course for the PGA Tour, and it is a double black diamond. It is hilariously hard in certain spots. Moguls. I think the moguls in the rough really define it. It creates some interesting shots out of the rough when you have to deal with the severe sloping and the contouring, and even the contouring on the short grass, I think is really, really good. It's got good variety, got places where you can chase, places where you're just holding on for dear life. It's hard in a lot of the right ways, and it's a complete test of golf. Could be
Yeah, I
better.
think it's only gonna get better. Like, I think with
Yeah,
like Davis Law,
exactly.
like, he's doing work right now on, I think the second hole, he's adding more slope to the left side of that fairway, and I think just adding more slope back into the greens,
Yeah.
I think as well is going to make it even more punishing and proper.
Yeah. So that's my top two. My Hall of Very Good. These are golf courses I enjoy watching. Just didn't feel right to put on the same level tier as the Players Championship and of course Riviera. But Hall of Very Good. I love CBC Scottsdale. I think it's a great mix. It's got some thick rough, but it also has a ton of sandy areas that make for really interesting. It's like as close to Pinehurst 2 as you get on the PGA Tour, honestly, of like, dude, you could get totally boned in a bush over there. You don't want to be over there, but you could hit great recovery shots. You could get lucky over there. There's a mystery of what's going to happen when you do go into those spots. And I just think of Scotty carving wedges and stuff around trees out of that sandy area. And the green contouring is also best in class. You mentioned they got really cool slopes that eat into green surfaces and create really interesting runoff areas. To your point, too, on the tiers and the ball splitters, like it encourages aggressive golf because the safe shot towards the middle of the green isn't going to be on sometimes isn't going to be on the same tier, and it's not like a formula. It's hard to play a formulaic way around those golf courses, and sets up really well for great tournament golf and one of the best finishing stretches that you see. 15, 16, 17, 18's kind of meh, but that 15 through 17 stretch is just freaking awesome. I love that golf tournament. Muirfield Village, one of the worst finishes actually of any of it, but some of the best balance of like, dude, really hard, some thick rough, but they got wide enough fairways out there that if you're in the thick rough, you probably deserve it, really, except for like 18,
Yeah.
which I think is a silly hole, but great settings, great stadium viewing, tradition, all the stuff. Like it's a hall of very good. Could
Solid.
be better.
I think one of the things that kind of gets me a little bit of like, man, the stuff that I like, does it yield great golf tournaments or pro golf tournaments? Is you look at TPC Sawgrass, you look at Scottsdale, and then you look at Muirfield Village. You get some really random winners. Like sometimes
Yeah.
it's clearly identifying the Tiger Woods or the Scotty Scheffler or whomever, but then sometimes you get the one where it's like the Bart Bryant.
Or Bryant, rest in peace, of course. David Lingmerth.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some very random results for that one, but it's
And
got
like same thing at Sawgrass, right?
yeah,
It's kind of, sometimes, hey, you kind of roll the balls out. It was Oakmont, right? It's like you roll the balls out on a really, really proper, balanced venue, and you're gonna get some unexpected results. But I like that
yeah.
personally.
And it's earned. It's not like it's random
Yeah.
fluky luck where everybody
Yeah.
gets put in a blender and it's not rewarding good shots. So I got Harbortown in Hall of Very Good.
Okay.
It doesn't quite. I respect your ability to put that into your top tier. It just is down one notch for me. I love the way what I think is his biggest quality for testing tour pros is the lack of round shapes to the greens. Like the greens all have cut-ins of non-green space. I don't know how to describe it, or in a different way, greens have little jutting out in different spots, create really interesting pin positions and really demanding shots for these guys that even with wedges, which you're gonna, no matter what the length of your golf course is these days, guys are gonna tend to have wedges into it. It seems like doing it in that way versus just bigger traditional greens makes for a really interesting challenge to watch on television. So
Solly, I think, yeah, like I think of the stretch like 13, 14, 15 at Harbortown is like, all right, you've got this crazy tongue, two tongues in the front of the green, almost looks like a Rolling Stone album cover. Where you gotta, you can take it on, or you can play to the safe spot, and then you got a two putt. You've got 14s, that par three
got
that
to hit
is like
great
the
shot.
most terrifying shot I've ever
Yeah.
seen. And if you want to bail out left, cool. Like you're still gonna have trouble making par from there. And like if they really get the greens firing, like you could put it in the water over there to a chip in the water.
That is shot value. For any confusion as to what
Yeah.
that term means, it's that right there. Hit the shot or you're making bogey from the left side or
Yeah, and
worse.
then 15 is like, cool, you gotta hit a really good drive up the right side to get an angle into, hit a fairway wood into that green. It's like a 580-yard par 5 and, back left, and then if you blow it long, you're gonna struggle to get up and down for birdie, and and it's just like you can push off the risk, but at some point you're gonna have to take it
Have to take
on.
it on.
And I think that's my biggest problem with a place like Craig Ranch is like, it's just send it up there, and
There's
then
no
you
risk.
you can figure it out. There's no risk.
100%. And I also have the plantation course at Kapalua listed in this one. Again, birdie fest, but you got to earn it. Awesome, just non-stock shots, ball on the ground, all the things we talked about already. But it's just fun to see variety for these guys to have to play a different style of golf, even if the bogeys are hard to come by. I like watching this golf course every year. So next here, big name, not bad, but boring. I've
Okay.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courses on this list. One, I honestly didn't know. I'll start at now. I'll build up to that. I didn't know what to do with the last one on this list. I don't love its place here, and I'll accept any critiques there. But number 1, Quail Hollow. It's not a bad golf course. It's not
Yeah.
great. It's got a big name. Maybe the name outsizes what I think of the golf course, and watching it, I do think it's a bit boring. It's not a bad course by any means. Again, don't misconstrue it, but just goes to the top of the list here. Torrey follows right behind it. I think this is a kind review of Torrey. Honestly, I think it is vastly underutilized. If I could have made more categories, it might have fitted into a different one, but obviously got the big name. And when I say big name, I feel like it's just going to carry a lot of weight with more casual golf fans. And that's like that has a, how do I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that as it makes fucking sense for the tour to go to a place that people are going to recognize and like watching on TV, and not think about some of the things that we might think about or talk about. It like doesn't rule. I don't, when I'm walking around a lot of these tournaments, I don't hear a lot of the same critiques that we come up with for places like that. So I think it makes sense in a broad perspective, even if some things that more avid golf fans may not like about it. So
You know what bumped Torrey up in my ranking as well was having the North Course.
Yeah,
Like the North Course is cool.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't think about that. But East Lake, I got this higher up than you do. I do think the renovation elevated things, and I do think it's still a bit boring, but it's got the big name, and I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad and worthy of being overly demoted here, but I think it fits into this category. And I'm also going Bay Hill here. Again, I think people associate it with Arnold Palmer and think it's great. It's most definitely not great. And it might be bad. This might be a compliment to it, but it is interesting to watch these guys go through that psychological exam. It is. I hate the path to getting there, but it's a fun Sunday, and it's like a good mystery of what's going to happen in that tournament.
Yeah.
Just not. I just can't watch it on a Thursday. It's a legitimately bad layout. Anyways, I got Pebble in this category. And that it honestly might not be fair to have Bay Hill and Pebble in the same tier, but especially it's where it fits on the calendar too, and the softness of the golf course that we always get, and the tough weather that's usually not fun conditions that we enjoy watching. It just it can end up a bit boring, and again, it's a massive name, going to go to the top of the list for a lot of people, but it's just not quite for me. It's definitely not a bad golf course. It's got some flaws. Could be much better if they're expanding the greens out to some areas of and they've done some of that. They've done that on 8, they've done that on 10, like they're chipping away at it, but it just I struggled with a place to put that one, but that's where it fits for me.
I think as well, like they don't do a great job of showcasing 6, 7, 8, like where it falls in the broadcast window. I think on the time of year standpoint too, it just, even when the US Open's there, like I didn't think it was a very interesting US Open last time they had it there, which is kind of knocked it down in my rankings as well.
Yeah, I mean it could fit in the could be good with Rhoback.
Yeah.
But I think that's a separate. I think it's still good. I think probably just still good. But and then lastly, again, I hate this here. PGA National. I don't even know if it's a big name. It's not bad, but a bit boring. I think is just kind of where I would say this makes sense as a PGA Tour venue. Not my favorite one to watch. And I think when I say big name, I think it had a reputation at one point of being a kind of a Bay Hill-ish like challenge, and it's kind of lost a little bit of that. But I wouldn't say it's bad. It's got some fun finishing holes. It's those par 3s on the back 9 are like, I can't wait to see what this person does with this. So it's got that. Again, not of course I'm dying to tune into on a Thursday. But so that's a fat category. I think good for what it is. is I got Colonial in this one. I think it's, again, a good golf course. I don't think it's going to blow
Yeah.
you away. It is a shorter golf course. It's a classic golf course. We've gotten intimately familiar with it through our relationship with Schwab over the years. Attended it, got to talk with some of the members. I guess my context on that is just like it's the longest standing PGA Tour venue. It's been there since the 70s. It almost went away, and what it means to the members, and like what I don't know. It's good for what it is. Again, if it's not your favorite course to watch and where it falls in the calendar, not great. And it doesn't look great on TV. I agree with all of that, but I think it has a worthy spot on the PGA Tour calendar.
Yeah, I think that's like the slightly above average, but doesn't necessarily translate.
Yep.
TV, right?
Yep. I got TPC River Highlands next on this one. Not my favorite on there, but like, again, couple shorter golf courses on this list of like, it's kind of close to the bottom edge for me of signature event venues, but I still enjoy watching it. I enjoy a spot on the calendar where you get a shorter golf course, where you get, some water. And I love the environment there. I think it is very good for what it is. It is meant to host that event at that time of year. Front nine is kind of meh, but it's set up for an exciting back nine, and you almost always get an exciting back nine. So, and I got Innisbrook again, not a top level golf course, but it's good for what that's a good one to flip on and watch. I'll be just a comparative sake around the same time period, like TPC San Antonio. I don't think is good for what it is, and I think Innisbrook is. I think it's it's obviously after the Players. It's a little bit of a come down, but if you're ready to watch some golf, that creates some interesting golf.
It's a good golf tournament. Yeah.
Yep. Again, I don't think it's deserving of getting elevated to a signature event level or a bigger spot on the calendar, but for what it is, I think that's a good golf course.
I mean, Soly, I don't even think they're capable of that because they can't, the catering and the on-site food is just, they don't have the organic, line caught salmon and all of that stuff.
Could be good with Rhoback. Detroit Golf Club, I just don't think we can give it a fair test. I mean, it's obviously a good golf course, Donald Ross golf course, but like Donnie Boy just gets obliterated by these guys, no matter how much you've linked it in and kind of PGA toured it up. It's just Bomber's Delight and just doesn't fit. Could be good with a different golf ball, but it's not good in its current iteration. Waialae, you can't quite power it the same way you can Detroit Golf Club, but just golf at this scale doesn't make sense for that golf course, and it's just almost hard to give it a pass or fail grade. It just kind of blown the venue by. Deer Run, I feel the same way. I think that's a fun golf course, to your point. Some of the challenge would come in with not being able to hit the ball quite as far. But you can say that for a lot of these golf courses as well. But this could almost go into good for what it is, because I think it is a traditionally mule event, but it is a birdie fest. But for whatever reason, over the years, again, I've been to this one before and watched it, and I enjoy this golf tournament. That's we're recording this here on Thursday. I'm looking forward to watching it this week. But then I got Memorial Park, just Minwoo Lee blowing it all over the planet and winning this year, just knocked it down a huge notch in my belt in my rankings this year.
We thought it slapped. It might not slap.
It doesn't slap, and with the overseed, and just does not. Just a balls BSI. This could almost be a BSI invitational category, aside from Waialae, really, in that. But
yeah.
Just two courses in this sixth tier. Not bad. It's hard to say it's bad, but it's just not it. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. I got Pete Dye Stadium course there. Yeah. It's hard to say it's a bad course, but I'm good. I don't get excited for that one. I tried to shoehorn a piece of shit puck and putting contest category here, but that would have put me at 9, and that would have been the only course in that one. Of course, that's John Rahm's famous quote about the golf course. But yeah, that's going there for me. And I got Renaissance there. I get so excited to go to Scotland, and it just feels like an interpretation or an imposter of a Scottish golf course. Yeah. And it's not it. It's just not it. It's hard to say definitively that it's a bad golf course. I don't think it is, but it's not what I'm looking for out of a Scottish golf experience. Quite forgettable is the 7th category, and some of these are truly like, dude, I honestly don't know. Like, I got the
not
Dunes.
Even pissing you off. It's
quite forgettable. Dunes Club, opposite field event. I don't know if I could pick out any holes, which I think Might be more of a me problem. I got Punta Cana in here as well. I know you had that one up higher. I didn't disagree with you, but it just the actual that finishing stretch I can remember, but most of the rest of it is quite forgettable. But it's an opposite field, and I don't watch a ton of that one. Of course, that's going to be in this list. TPC Louisiana. If I don't remember if I played it or not, this definitely goes into the quite forgettable category. Just not a lot of unique features that really shine through on TV there. And I got TPC San Antonio here as well.
Okay.
You like that one a little bit more than I do. I think the Texas factor drives that
Again,
one down.
I don't even know if I like it. I think
know.
I respect it though. And
I don't not respect it. It's just quite
recovery
forgettable.
shots and such. Yeah.
It's just quite forgettable, not my favorite setting, and just one that I'm quite good with. And I got Grand Reserve, the Puerto Rico course. I can't picture a single hole right now. Again, the opposite field events are just naturally going to fall into this quite forgettable category. But
that's fair.
Final one, blow it up, like truly bad. Which look, only 3 courses on this list, I think, was a bit of a surprise to me. We know the first one, Craig Ranch. Take it away. That's not a real golf course.
So
Twin Cities,
get it out of here.
Yeah, Twin Cities, TPC. I'm surprised you didn't have it that farther down than you did, because that's just absolutely not it.
It's probably somewhere between the bad and 10
Yeah.
layers of shit before we reached the last category, but I was limited by.
I know. And I put Vedanta Vallarta in there. Like, there's just no redeeming quality of that. I get it's a resort course, and there's just no. I don't know if you need to blow it up. That might be harsh, but blow up that tournament, because never forget what they took from us, which was Chapultepec with the Mexican, the WGC. And now that's our Mexican event that we get here for the Mexico Open, which isn't a national open. Is that right?
It goes back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's my tiers. I feel surprisingly good about it. And now I'm excited, because I'm going to go and click and finally look at Joseph's list here as we do this.
Okay.
So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 venues as well. That's why I came up with the 8
tiers.
categories.
Okay.
8 tiers. Elite venue. So he's including Augusta here, which we did not include majors on this list. I think it should go without saying that that would be an elite venue. He has his 2 elite venues are Augusta and TPC Sawgrass. Next is excellent and underrated. He has Muirfield Village for Memorial Tournament. Next up, very strong but overrated, Riviera.
Okay. Doesn't like the Kikuya.
Okay,
yeah.
that's fair.
And he loves Pete Dye. Joseph's I've talked to him a lot about it, and he makes great points. By the way, I love Joseph. I think he's one of the smarter people in golf, and
he's a thought leader,
a truly independent thinker.
Yes,
which I really respect.
Yeah. Solid pro golf test. He has Kapalua. He has, is that Houston? He's got logos. I'm looking at Houston, Texas Children's Hospital, Waste Management, TPC Sawgrass or TPC Scottsdale, Valero, TPC San Antonio, and Harbortown for solid pro golf test.
Okay.
Victims of modern technology are Pebble Beach, Wyndham. Did I forget to have Wyndham on the list?
Yeah, we did.
I'm sorry. I totally forgot. I must have. I totally spaced on putting that in there. What tier are you putting Sedgefield on?
I would probably put Sedgefield in the adequate but maxed out, or the. I have a soft spot for Sedgefield, but also it can turn into like a piece of shit putting contest as well.
Yeah.
But they've grown that Bermuda rough up. I think adequate, but potential exists. There for me.
I'll put that good for what it is. I think that's a solid little golf course. So that's my bad. I whiffed on that one. And then he has Wiley in there, and also Colonial. That's his victims of modern technology. Just bunkers, grass, some trees, a $50 million purse, and a 20% decline in TV viewership is another category. He has Torrey Pines, Bay Hill, Quail Hollow, the FedEx St. Jude. Did I forget Southwind as well?
Yeah, we did.
Oh my gosh. I
think Southwind is like, it would almost be its own category, or maybe it's like above average but doesn't translate to TV, because I think the small greens, and I think it's actually a pretty interesting golf course, but it's also like not pleasant to watch. It's in a fucking office park.
Yeah.
It's guys are sweating through their garments. The crowds are pretty subdued because it is so hot. I'll be very, very curious to see what this one kind of the future looks like here
Yeah.
now that Mr. Fred Smith has has passed. RIP.
Apologize. I must have just totally stopped making the list when I got to TPC Twin Cities. I missed Sedgefield and Southwind. Apologies for that. I put that as good for what it is as well. I think would probably be it for me. And he also has Eastlake in that category. Shouldn't have a tournament here is the next category. We have Renaissance. We have TPC Deer Run. We have River Highlands. We have Innisbrook. We have Detroit Golf Club. We have Pete Dye Stadium. And we have PGA National for the Cognizant Classic.
Okay. Interesting.
A little harsh on some of them, I'd say. I don't know if I would agree Innisbrook shouldn't have a tournament.
Innisbrook and River Highlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see where you're coming from on John Deere, just because it does become such a birdie fest on that. I don't necessarily agree, but I can see where you're coming from there. Renaissance, I respect that opinion. Detroit, I can see why with some of the technology regions we discussed as well. Stadium course and PGA National, I can agree with that. Final category shouldn't have a golf course here. They have Craig Ranch. We have all right. He's got my final three for Blow It Up. We have the same exact one: Craig Ranch, TPC Twin Cities, and Vidanta, whatever the Mexico Open.
Vallarta.
So.
Yeah.
You also throw a little challenge out there for 5 golf courses that should host PGA Tour events, or 5 courses you'd like to see host PGA Tour events. Didn't really put a lot of restrictions around this one. Did you give it did you put it through the filter of the all right, we're not doing the Bandon thing. We're not doing something that's unrealistic.
Yeah, I think within reason. Like, hey, could you host a match play thing here with a smaller field and limited spectators? Yeah, but like we're not doing Bandon or Sand Hills or Cabot. Like that's not happening. Like throw up Peter Pan.
Yeah.
It's So what are yours?
I am going to surprise you with the first one. And I want to circle back on this because we talked about this golf course of, hey, in a different light, this venue might make sense.
Okay.
Good stadium seating, rabid fan base that wanted to come out. I think Valhalla could totally host a PGA Tour event.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great golf course, but I think it's a bad major championship venue. But I think it's hosting a Solheim Cup. I think that could be great for that. But I think it would get a passing grade for an area of the country and a venue that would make sense. A lot of birdies, not a ton of shot value out there, but I think it can host a PGA Tour event. So, just putting that out there. Scioto Country Club. I think it is probably on the edge of being long enough, but it's hard. It's a hard golf course. Played it a couple years ago. And it's just got my ass beat. And I think
you play it pre or post Andrew Green?
Pre-Reno. So if there's ever a year that Muirfield Village needed a total redo, that they couldn't get it ready in time if they just took a gap year.
Well, no, they can't do that now because Jack hates Scioto now because they ripped out all his changes.
Very much so. That's unlikely. Maybe after Mr. Nicholas is no longer with us, but I would like to see a tour event there. Based on your review, Medina number 3, I think that was a joke of a PGA Tour event when it was in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And I think that it sounds like it would be a much more interesting golf course to watch there. Is Inverness long enough?
It's borderline. I think it's long enough to host. They could do like the Philly cricket thing with it. I think. I think the biggest issue there is just, it's in west side of Toledo and it's just not a great area and all of that. But, and corporate support and all of that. But you could easily take a BMW or something there.
Yeah. And then the last one, again, never been there, but just feels like we should see this golf course more at Chambers Bay. If they can host a U.S. Open there, they can put a PGA Tour event in the Pacific Northwest, and that's a golf course that I think we saw with the U.S. Women's Am last 2 years ago, was it? Saki Baba won there. It's no matter who's playing that event, playing that golf course, it's an interesting golf course to watch, and I think that would be a really fun PGA Tour event.
Agree. That was the first one on my list.
Yep.
It's not a great spectator venue, or at least I don't think they did the right stuff to make it a great spectator venue for the U.S. Open there. I think moving forward, there's some things that they can do in some of those interior holes that would make it better. But you get up on that kind of high, it's kind of tiered down, and it's the rare course where the farther you get from the water, the better the views are. and like the more spectacular it is, which I think is a really cool thing. But yeah, it's not great for spectators up on that side of the course. But that would be a no-brainer. I put George Wright Municipal on
Hmm.
here. I don't think right now it couldn't, but this is something that I know that there's a restoration renovation plan floating around out there that I know they've looked at the feasibility of doing, this kind of building a new clubhouse and lengthening the golf course. Like they've certainly got the land to do it. Could be a spectacular, like basically everything that you wanted TPC Boston to be, but in Boston and in it'd be tough ingress egress with a golf tournament, but you could easily have a limited person field there. I think the park at West Palm,
Interesting.
I think guys would tear it up, but I think you could have either a match play thing or just a limited field event there. I think they could make that place spicy and firm it up, make it wildly fast, put pins in outrageous spots. I put Castle Stewart on. It's just like, man, I'd love to see, or Cabot Highlands, I guess at this point, I would love to see, they're building more infrastructure, more lodging. Inverness is growing. There's a lot more going on up there than there was back in the mid 2010s when they had it up there last.
They had the Scottish Open there before it was a PGA
Yeah,
Tour co-sanctioned event. Yes.
yeah, and that's one where I just wish there was something on the schedule that moved around, Ireland and the British Isles of, hey, can we have a tournament somewhere interesting down in the Heathlands or, up in Northwest England or, go to Ireland or go to, Northern Scotland or Royal Aberdeen or something like that. That's, giving us a little bit more taste of it's almost like a Rolex series event or a signature event that kind of moves around. And then you've got the Scottish Open the week before the Open Championship. So, and then you know what? I thought about Pasatiempo for like a match play thing. I don't think that's going to work. I put Chapultepec
Hell yeah.
back on here. Just like
It's a good one.
I think that there's something to be said for. We get it a little bit with Harbor Town of like a place that has a bunch of trees and it feels like kind of like an overgrown muni. And we're going to slow the greens down a little bit. The bunkers aren't going to look like you see week to week. The bad lies are a thing. And I love golf tournaments at altitude, but when you place restrictions on
Yeah.
the shots that the guys can play and they have to start getting creative or like I think that like introducing variables like that and a lack of spin on a really funky, outdated golf course is like going so far to that side of the spectrum
Yes.
is
It
fun
worked.
sometimes.
But I didn't watch the live event, but from the highlights I saw, like it had been redone and it doesn't look the same scruffiness. Like it's kind of
That
in
was the
that weird
charm.
middle. Yeah, it's in
Yeah.
that weird middle of like, I don't know if this is really working for me anymore,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So there were a few other ones and even there's some stuff that like I would love to see. Like I didn't include anything down in Australia or anything up in Canada or anything like that. Like I think that's probably a separate conversation. Like in Canterbury or stuff up like north like Cleveland area or up in the Northeast. But it's like, all right, like there's a reason why we don't have PGA Tour events in some of
Yeah.
these spots too. So
Well, gosh, talking about a lot of golf courses made me want to get out and play a lot more golf. The sun is out here. It's been hot here, but not too hot. Went out and practiced a little bit yesterday out on the range. Did a little bit of workout stuff out there. And first thing I did when I got there, you know what I did, TC? I lathered up. The man needs sun. I needed to get out of the house. I needed to go do something. This is your formal invitation to spend less time this summer behind your screens, more time outside with friends in the sun. It's good for your physical and mental health. I feel so much better having done this. Been spending way too much time inside. It makes us happier. If it's on a golf course, you're probably likely to make yourself twice as happy. So at Oars and Alps, they make sunscreen for men. More specifically, you can count on hardworking formulas that are good for your skin. None of that tropical scent stuff. You're not going to smell like a pina colada. It's lightweight, non-greasy, non-sticky. Doesn't give you that white cast or that chalky residue. You don't want that in your beard. For you, the bearded fellas out there, you don't want that white stuff showing up in your beard. It's easy to use. It's travel friendly, easy to reapply on the go. They got great hands-free free format sprays, mist, sticks, so your hands stay clean. You know you don't want those glandular issues. So get outside, get some sunshine. It's free. And with Oars and Alps, you can stay out as long as you want. Code NLU15 gets you 15% off Oars and Alps sun care and skin care today. That's NLU15 at oursandalps.com to get you off many, many, many of their great products. So
Solly,
get out there.
it's what I trust for my dome.
Yeah.
Right. It takes a
Well, you
lot.
wouldn't trust anything with that dome because that thing is
I got a
getting,
lot of real estate
yeah.
up there, and the stick is awesome.
Well, it takes 2 seconds. That's the whole thing. I hate rubbing having, do this, put it in your hands, rub it all. No, nice sprays is what we need. So, all right, let's get to some news and notes here, TC. There is a purse distribution has been announced for the new FedEx Cup. This is a tweet we had from David Rumsey that broke down the new FedEx Cup bonus payments. I don't know if we need to go through it in great detail, but basically at the end of the regular season, the winner is going to get $10 million. Second place gets 4, third 1.2. So is this in place of the Comcast Business Tour Top 10 or in addition to that? Like,
To be honest, I'm not sure. And I don't know if this is in place of the BMW Championship purse or if this because there's it's like different mile markers basically or different checkpoints that you hit, and it seems like they're just they're front loading the FedEx Cup bonus, like the lump FedEx Cup bonus into like 3 different checkpoints now.
yeah,
Right.
because they've obviously gotten away from the starting strokes and kind of the handing out of. They've several years prior, they've gotten rid of the 2 tournaments going on at once, basically at the Tour Championship. BMW, that first place prize is now $5 million. Second prize is 3.5, third 2.6, fourth 1.8. Because I think if there's one
Okay, so
thing
that is the purse for the BMW.
correct, that is the payout structure for that. Which I also don't know what this means for the St. Jude. FedEx St. Jude for the purse for that one as well. That's not included, at least in this tweet from David. But so basically, the idea here is, all right, since we're not just giving away all the money at the end of the Tour Championship, because that made it easier for guys to skip prior events in the playoffs, trying to spread it out through the playoffs. But and now the first prize for the Tour Championship is 10 million, second prize 5 million. That's just straight up like no strokes. You get over $1 million for finishing as low as 8th. You get 1.07 million for finishing in 8th. But it's tough, man, because I think the one massive takeaway we've had from the last several years is like money getting paid out does not make people tune in or make people care about these tournaments. And this feels like the worst of all worlds to me, dude. I did not hate starting strokes nearly as much as most people did. Because it was just a simplified version of like blending the regular season with the final tournament. Did it make for the most exciting final tournament? No. Is it what I think is the best iteration of this tournament, of this championship? Absolutely not, of course. But it just seems like we're in a transition year that's going to be incredibly forgettable. And it's almost not worth spending that much time on because I know it's going to be changed before next year and hopefully completely reimagined. I honestly feel like they went for like the worst possible
It feels more
iteration.
convoluted than ever.
Well, worst iteration, so they felt justified to blow it up completely. You know what I mean? And just start from scratch and do a completely different way of assigning a championship on the PGA Tour.
It's interesting. Like, yeah, you brought up the thing about the FedEx St. Jude. Like, guys I think Rory and those guys are probably still going to skip that. The payout structure for the end of the regular season, it's up top, it matches the Tour Championship, 10 million, 10 million. But then it's, it goes 10 million, 4 million, 1.2, 1 million, 800,000, whereas Tour Championship is 10, 5, 3.7, 3.2, 2.75. So it's much more weighted throughout, kind of balanced on the Tour Championship versus end of the regular season is extremely top heavy. But yeah, that's a great question of like, does that supersede the Comcast Business Top 10?
Also, who cares? Like, it's all stuff that fans don't really care about. I know the players do, of course, but just seems like something could
also like, I don't know. One of the interesting things about the Tour Championship was going to be if like the 25th place dude ends up making $25 million and like, kind of Wally Pipping Scotty or somebody like that of like, hey, I'm gonna just slide in and get this right here versus
Yeah,
versus
chip in the
now it's like,
chair. One
yeah,
first or
yeah,
30th going into
exactly.
Tees Lake, you can make
Yeah.
so much money.
Now
But
it seems like they've kind of legislated some of the underdog stuff out of it.
yeah. So, anyways, open qualifying was this past week. There's some cool story. One cool story in particular that came out of it. Richard Teeter, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, became the first player from Estonia to qualify for the Open Championship. Hold a wedge from 80 yards in a 4-for-2 playoff after he doubled the 18th hole in regulation. The Golf Week article I read said Estonia has 7 golf courses. And he's obviously the first ever to play from Estonia. That's a country I never made it to when I lived over in Europe, and I really wanted to. That, Latvia, and Lithuania were 3 that I always wanted to get to, and I never made it to any of them. But that's one of many cool stories to come out of
Yeah.
Open Championship qualifying.
Another cool story. Lee Westwood won his qualifier at Dundonald. Lucas Herbert won at West Lancs. I would probably put more stock in the West Lancs one just because that's a proper golf course versus Dundonald kind of being the fake American links. But live guys playing well. Dean Burmester won at Royal Cinque Ports. David Puig shot 64.78 there to shit the bed and not qualify. And then Justin Walters won at Burnham and Barrow. Good, very, very good final qualifying sites on the whole. And then I saw next year they're going to do a last chance qualifier. It'll be introduced in 2026 at Birkdale. 12 players for the last spot. They will play it at Birkdale, which is interesting.
That's
I don't know how they're
interesting.
going to qualify or like
Yeah.
how are they going to choose those 12 players? But
Is this like a YouTuber? Is it going to be like their
know.
version of the Creator Classics and make us to play in the Open Championship?
God, I bet some of the old boys are not happy about the RNA, pandering.
Speaking of old boys, TC, Adam Shupak had a banger of an article.
Adam Shupak, not Alan. All right,
Yes.
Colin. Adam Shupak.
A banger of an article for Golf Week. It was a deep dive into. So if you're getting caught up on this, we haven't talked about this in a long time, and it almost kind of seems like it's gone to the back burner. But with the SSG investment into the PGA Tour, there's now an equity program within the PGA Tour, and there's 3 categories of equity that have been doled out. The major majority of it has gone to the top, I believe, 36 players on the PGA Tour level. I don't know the exact number of players, but it's a massive amount of money. Obviously, Tiger getting a huge amount, Rory getting a huge amount. The goal of this being to be a huge retention tool for keeping players on the PGA Tour. No more defections to live.
Massive amount of equity, not money or like
not money, but a dollar value of equity
money.
given to that to get players invested in and want to grow their shares of equity and kind of be invested in the entire product as a whole. Next tier is kind of basically for the rest of the PGA Tour players out there. It's a much smaller amount and more spread out evenly, and all kinds of complications of how you can earn equity into the future through solid play and points and all these things. But the final category is this past legends category, which is 36 of the top or past players that have helped form the PGA Tour were going to be given equity in reward for their help, helping make the tour what it is today. And this article has a bunch of great quotes from some guys that are not happy with the fact that they did not make that top 36. 2 of those names are Nick Faldo and Tony Jacklin. And Faldo had during an interview with Golf Week, it was rereading one of his texts that he had sent to Jay Monahan. He said, asking about this equity thing, I assume I am on the list that he'd written to Jay Monahan. And when he, again from the article, when he didn't hear back, Faldo left Monahan 2 voicemails. Someone in the commissioner's office called on his behalf and promised Faldo they'd schedule a call with the commish. That never happened. Finally, at least a month later, he received a letter from Monahan with the tour's lawyer copied. And Faldo said, I was disappointed that Jay couldn't man up and call me personally. The letter basically said, I haven't played enough and won enough. I guess we were in the wrong era. And then Faldo also said, well, hang on a minute. I was world number one for a couple of years. I was PGA Player of the Year in 1990. I was kind of one of the big guys in the late 1980s, early 1990s. I'd like to think my contributions to the tour were significant enough. Plus, I did 18 years of TV, and I don't think I ever said a bad word about the tour. And I supported Jay through Live. If the tour thinks I brought no value, there's not a lot I could do. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For the first time ever, I see where Faldo's coming from. Yeah, he won the Heritage, he won the Doral one year, and then he won the Nissan Open, which was, now LA, Genesis. So on and obviously won 6 majors, 3 of those Masters. I think the tour, I also think he got paid handsomely to be a rather poor analyst for CBS for a really long time, and that feels like kind of a reward for his on-course performance.
It
Um,
also, how did he think being positive about the tour and never saying a bad word about Jay would equate to getting equity from the tour? And like, what is a formulaic distribution of the money, right? It's kind
yeah,
of secretive, and this article does a great job too of diving into what basically Podrick Harrington cracked the code of what the point system would be. A player's win
of
counts the
course he
same as a
did.
major championship win. And if you play a bunch of years on tour and you get, a certain amount of wins are worth amount of points and blah, blah, blah. It's like, they're not like picking their favorites and distributing money to them. And it's only $75 million worth of equity
Yeah.
distributed amongst these 36 past legends. But again, it goes into great detail. Tony Jacklin added, anybody that knows about business knows that the first 5 years or so were the most vital. They were the best years of my life in terms of my play. And to think I was flying the flag for the PGA Tour before the guys who made these decisions were even born, I feel let down. It's deflating just to talk about it. I sit here watching the world go by, and it's almost like they consider you a waste of time. Uh, it, I, 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 I get the sentiment here, but it's also this thing that came about that was never promised to you at any point of your career or life or post-career life. This is a reflection of the current state of affairs of what the game is at. You played for a nonprofit organization, and part-time. These guys were not like the
Well,
Jack
I think
did a
that's the
lot for
most
PGA Tour,
important
but
thing
yeah,
is, like, you played for, like, the rival tour.
yeah.
Like, you played for the European tour, and I don't know, there's guys like there's guys like a Matt Kuchar who's won a bunch on the PGA Tour. How much is he getting, right?
Right.
Who he's not necessarily part of the future, but he's kind of in that weird middle ground. And it's like, all right, like if we want to back it up on, you won majors, cool. Like, what's a guy like Steve Flesh or Jim Herman getting? Those guys have won multiple times on the PGA Tour, but also didn't really. You're being well compensated with your PGA Tour pension as well. I think Seve would have been a really interesting one. Like, what happens to guys that
You have
would
to
have
be alive.
qualified for this? You have to be alive. So your
That's
trust
according
or
to Gary
your
Player's quotes
okay,
on this, and he's not getting any payments until he's 91, and the second payment would be when he's 98. I don't even know if that payment is the right term. I don't know if it's a dividend or what it is, but
yeah,
it just goes to. I mean, I understand what the tour is doing with this equity thing. It was always going to be super messy,
yeah,
and like as soon as people find out that there's a free crack giveaway going on, and I mean, again, the article is great because it details like John Cook made the list, and he was stunned that he made the list, and he's believed to be the 36th guy on the list. But he had enough career points in this thing to earn the payout. But I would highly encourage. We can link it in the show notes as well. But go in and read this and just seeing exactly what a hornet's nest this whole thing is of people assuming they would be on the past champions list and
yeah.
not getting anything is it's
I mean,
just wild to read about.
Cook also won 11 times. Uh, yeah, and props to Shoepack.
Yeah.
Continues to just churn out like good scoops and like very, very like a wide variety of stuff with
I honestly
regard
forgotten
to
about the equity thing until that article popped up.
yeah,
But yeah, it's an excellent read. The Live 2026 schedule is out, TC. I can go through it rather quickly if you'd like. They start in Riyadh in February, and they go back to back with Riyadh and then Adelaide the first 2 weekends of February. They go to Hong Kong, Singapore, South Africa, 3 consecutive weeks in March, then a week off, and then the Masters. They come to North America for Mexico City the week after the Masters. Then they go to their first American event, DC in Virginia, May 8th through 10th, which rolls right into the PGA Championship. A week off after that, then South Korea, straight to Spain immediately after that. Week off, and then US Open. Then New Orleans as a new event in late June, the week after the US Open. And then they are off for a couple weeks before the Open Championship, straight to the UK event. And then in August, they go Chicago, Indianapolis, Michigan, with a week off between Chicago and Indianapolis. That takes us through August 30th and through the end of the year. What's your reaction to the 2026 schedule?
I was told that Dallas was a massive success. They're not going back to Dallas, it seems. No Nashville, no Miami. Late June in New Orleans, that's fascinating. Some of the lead-ins, some of the majors will be interesting.
Hong Kong, Singapore, South Africa, 3 straight weeks, and then a week off. I was before the match. That just doesn't seem like the best way to prepare for the Masters. TC, I'm sorry, it just does not seem like it.
Yeah, and then I think they're bouncing. They're doing the Korea thing again. I don't think there's any Japan this year. It's not to say that they couldn't add more stuff. I give O'Neill credit for getting it out early. It seems like they're kind of ahead of the game. I think he's. Yeah, I listened to some of the Rick Shields podcasts that he did. Rick's obviously a complete muppet, but I think O'Neill just seems like more of an adult than.
Real quick on that,
than
this
Greg
is
Norman.
this is
Yeah.
credit to Josh Carpenter from Sports Business Journal.
Yeah.
I don't believe this is an official release
Okay.
from Live Golf, but it is per his sources. Sorry, I should have mentioned that up front. But a Live source also told Josh that it's not 100% finalized, but was told by a source it's likely the final product.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm waiting for them to go head to head with the PGA Tour 1 week in the same market. Like, just say, you know what? We're pulling up to New Orleans in late April as well. And we're going to do, we're going to play it at, I'll be fascinated to see where they play it there. You'll see if they play it like a city park kind of thing or something like that. But like, maybe, hey, Jazz Fest is going on in town. We're going to do our own team thing. We're going to do it closer to the city and come hang out, come see us,
Yeah, the rating. I mean, again, it's kind of pointless to go down the ratings rabbit hole again. But Rocket Mortgage got, the Rocket got 2.79 million, I believe, something along those lines. And the final round of the Live event on FS2 was like 79,000 people watched it, and we're gonna keep doing it, man. We're gonna keep doing it. 2026, here we come.
Still nothing in South America. They've got Chapultepec back or Mexico City back, but still nothing there. And seems like they've just kind of punted on the western half of the United States as well.
Yeah.
So,
other mentions here: Miles Russell has committed to Florida State University, top junior player in the country, local Jacks kid here as well.
Yeah.
He lives pretty close to us, TC. But
Atlantic Beach, yeah.
And then you and I, we went out and played a little golf last week. We've told you guys about the renovation at Oak Marsh, the Omni course up there, and old Pete Dye golf course that Bo Welling has recently redone. We'll have some little bit of social snackable content coming out from this one as well. But TC, your reaction, a little Amelia Island, about 45, 50 minutes from Jacksonville, where we live.
Yeah, we took the ferry up. You'd never been on the ferry?
Never done that.
Just delightful. Bo the Show Welling, man, just did everything that I think we were hoping he would do to that place. It's an old Pete Dye, like you said. It's great piece of land. It's got some inland holes, a lot of marsh frontage that with great views out to the intracoastal. You've got a lot of great like mid-length par fours, but it was just overgrown and a lot of the greens had shrunk and kind of gotten raised up over the years just due to sand popping out and it's like the perfect resort course.
It's great.
And it's just took out bunker, like there's only one bunker on most greens, but there's a bunch of thoughtful slopes and short grass runoff areas and it's the kind of thing where like made it made it harder for low handicappers and easier for high handicappers. Is that kind of your
100%. And full
takeaway?
disclosure, we are sponsored by Omni, so if this sounds like
Yeah.
an ad for it, it's not. This is not a paid ad for it. Just also full disclosure, but it was a golf. I played the golf course 3 or 4 years ago in a little 1 day tournament, and I strongly disliked it. It just needed touched up, and it's unique how they've done it in that I don't know if it's wider. Like I don't know if the corridors are wider if they took out trees. Like it still has the character of this like it's in the name oak marsh of these massive old oaks that is
With
just like
moss coming down
yeah,
off
it
of them.
defines the setting of Amelia Island. And but at the same time, they went with a uniform cut of grass from sandy edge to sandy edge. It's all fairway, and that it looks a little narrow sometimes from the tee, but the holes are shorter. It's 6,400 yards from the tips, and you are asked to like, hey, yeah, okay, hit a 4 iron off this tee. Like you don't have to hit driver, but you get up in the fairways too, and it's like this is wider than my
Yeah.
eyes were letting me see from the tee. They use the space really well. Really cool contouring and tiering in the greens and edges to the greens as well. Some very cool pins that we played and simplified it, yet made it's super fun to play for a low handicapper and somewhere I would want to play with a high handicapper. I hate the courses that become mindless for the top players and become impossible for the lower players. And this is when that starts to move closer together. You're in for a fun day, and it's a vacation golf course and it's not going to beat you up and it's going to engage you. I would go up there. We were
Yeah.
saying we should go up once a quarter and just play up there and make a day out of it because maybe want a vacation up there as well. It was a delight. So congrats to everyone up there. That's a job well
Yeah.
done.
I think the part, if you're in the Sandy area, you can hit the hero shot to get out and you punch it through some of the trees. I think Solly, it feels like the corridors are maybe a little bit wider because they've limbed up some of the trees
Yeah.
closer to the tees. There was stuff that was just like you felt like it was encroaching upon you, but also the corridors are narrow, but it makes use of the entire corridor, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
100%.
And
Which
yeah, I
is
think
which is
there's
important in
yeah,
Florida golf because there's
yeah.
houses on both sides of a lot of golf holes in this state.
And it just there was spots where like, hey, if you want to give this a go and try to drive the green here, or really push one up on your second shot on a par five, you can do that. There's a spot that makes sense to bail out into. It's not just like a one or a zero. There's hey, you can get it up there and bail a little bit left, like on that 10 or 11.
Ten,
But
yeah.
also like you've gotta, you still gotta hit the shot and there's plenty of water, but it's man, it never felt like you were hitting that 2 iron stinger, but
It was
like
so firm out there.
but you're having to think, all right, am I gonna hit the 2 iron or am I gonna hit the 4 iron here?
Yep.
Or like it's I think you're looking like there's an advantageous side of the hole to be on pretty much every hole as well. Par threes are great. Yeah, I was really, really, really impressed. So
Yep.
yeah, shout out to Bo Welling and everybody up there.
Yeah, very fun little day trip up there. So, all right, TC, that's going to do it for us for today. We are going caught up earlier this week with Aldrich Potgieter, who just obviously won the Rocket Classic. And as I'm saying this, maybe he won the John Deere this week as well. Who could say? But a little 15-minute hit with Aldrich. We're going to send you out with that one. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you back here next week.
Crack on.
All right. I'm going to regret this. And I know the answer, but just level setting for the audience here. What year were you born?
2004.
That
Yeah.
is the year I graduated high school. And I believe that is the first person born 2004 or later that has been on this podcast. But all right, going into the Schwab, cut, 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 T47, cut, T6. What changed between that seventh miscut in that stretch to T6 and win? What changed?
Yeah, I think it's the first thing that happened. I had a friend that came out to me to Fort Worth. So it was nice to have a friend of mine from Australia who plays golf on the Australian tour, Adam Brady. So he was out there with me the whole week staying at the Airbnb. So it was nice to kind of have a friend out there and kind of see what the tour life is like. And it was nice to share that with him. And the Saturday before that event, we met JP, my coach, Justin Parsons. We met somewhere in the middle of Georgia. I think it was after the US Open, I think, or something like that. No, it was the PGA or something. It was a big event. And we met in the middle of Georgia, kind of have a golf club to kind of have a lesson. We didn't even have great golf balls, but I just needed to see him, and we've been trying to work on some things, but we couldn't read each other. So I was talking to him about some stuff, and he didn't like it, but he was thinking maybe I was doing something else. So finally, that lesson, we kind of saw eye to eye, kind of what we wanted to do, and the vision we had of what I need to be doing with my swing. And went out that week, had a little bit more control with the irons and the golf ball. But yeah, played pretty solid. Shot 2 under, 2 under, 1 under, 2 under. I was waiting for that 6 under to come. It just didn't. But I was happy with the result and the momentum. They went home for 4 weeks and came back and walked away with the trophy. So that was pretty cool.
For the swing nerds out there, what were you working on? What if you had to say, hey, here's my tendency, here's what I do to work on it. I'm curious, kind of what you would see as the through line there.
Yeah, I get the club a little inside on my takeaway, and then the club gets a little across on top of the line. So we're trying to work and getting that club more in line with my hands and more straight on top, and that's going to give the club a bit more balance point where I can kind of feel it a little bit more. Instead of just hitting the ball. So, and then we did a club fitting just before I left the States. So flew to England to go see the guys in Titleist, the guys in the UK. So I've been working with them quite a long time. So it was nice to see those guys again. And we did a whole rebag. So new clubs, different grind wedges, new grooves on the irons. So new golf ball. So everything. So last week was the first week with all of that in, so it was pretty cool.
Man, people are going to think this was put together by Titleist. It was not. We were a Titleist sponsored shop as well, but that was completely unplanned. But I had heard about Woburn. Is that where you did that? Yeah, I had heard about that kind of happening. But so this was your second playoff of the year. Kind of being in those playoff situations. I mean, you've won the British Amateur Championship at the age of 17. You've been in massive pressure spots before. Is that the most pressure you felt going back to Mexico or this championship? And I'm curious if it felt any different being in a playoff for the second time, if you learned anything kind of playing shot. I was just always so curious. How do you prepare for something like that you can't ever possibly simulate in practice? And if there was any difference between the two playoffs?
Yeah, I think Mexico was a little different. I liked the course. I was playing really good golf. My putting was unbelievable. I had to save so many putts, and a lot of those putts dropped. So that kind of kept momentum there. But I was playing with the lead basically from the start. So it was quite different where last week I had a really good round and then struggled second round and lost the lead. And then had a really good round on day 3 again. So I put myself, it's kind of like when I get the opportunity to chase someone at the front, I can really get the job done. I think that's kind of what we learned. So that day 3, you played difficult. It was a whole different golf course with the wind direction. So to shoot that 7 under was nice in those conditions as well. So and then going into the final round, you can't really prepare for it. It's you just kind of have to handle it in the situation. So a lot of cameras on you, a lot of people cheering you on. So it's difficult, and that start of the round was difficult. Like I said, having the lead, trying to protect it, you kind of feel like you have to. So once I lost the lead after 5 or 6 holes, it was kind of that mode change where we can chase again, and made 2 back-to-back birdies. Went on the other 9, didn't make a bogey, so it was a lot better after I can chase again. Yeah.
Is there any, I mean, considering your age, you're 20 years old, the other 2 guys in the playoff with you were 30 and 40, I believe. Is there anything you balance or kind of fight when you're out there under the gun in competition like that of feeling whether or not obviously you belong? You shot the tie for the lowest 72-hole score of the tournament. Obviously you belong there and you've been in those pressure situations, but this is all happening very fast for you in a lot of these. Do you ever fight any of those emotions of like looking up and be like, man, my name is at the top of a PGA Tour leaderboard right now? Am I supposed to be here right now? Is there ever any of that going on in your head?
I think it's more a little bit afterwards or before you're teeing off. Once you're in the round, you're kind of concentrating so hard and you're trying to get the job done. You're not really thinking about that stuff. You're just kind of looking at the leaderboard. I'm like, oh, I'm 1 or 2 shots back. I need to go. I need to dig deep and kind of get a few birdies on the scorecard. So in the playoff, kind of things happen a little different. It's a little slower. You have to switch to different holes. You don't really know what's going on too much. And I mean, literally every hole, someone had a chance to make a birdie. And when Chris missed the first putt, I was like, okay, that's good for us. We can have another chance. And then he three-putted the second hole. So it was kind of like, okay, now he's out. There's a little less pressure because there's only 2 guys now. And I've been playing with Max the whole day. So it was kind of felt like, okay, it was just going to be another round with him. It was pretty quiet during the round. We were both pretty concentrated trying to get the job done. So and then it went out to 5 holes. So but it was nice to kind of hit some good iron shots and have 2 or 3 good looks to win the tournament. So when I felt that momentum on that par 5, when I had that eagle putt, I thought I made it, and I felt the momentum switch a little bit where I was a little bit more pumped up.
Said par 5, you hit like 8 iron into it. You don't have many par 5s that you play, but so much comes with a win. You get into the Masters, you get 2-year exemption, you get a check with a couple commas in it. What's the biggest gift of a win? What's the prize of all of that you're most excited about now that you're a PGA Tour winner?
Yeah, I think it's stress. There's a lot more less stress now. I think you keep your card for 2 years. You're getting into the Masters. I wanted to play that tournament so bad this year, and it was so tough that that I wasn't in. So after the win on Mexico, I was so sad that, okay, I gave that opportunity up. I'm not going to play the Masters again. So so it's nice. There's a lot of good fruit that come out with this win. So we're just going to take it all in. But yeah, definitely keeping your card for 2 years. Don't have to stress about that, and hopefully being in for all the elevated events next year. That's a big win.
So you are routinely in the 190s ball speed. We see it. I mean, you're just touching 194, 195, what looks like relatively with ease. Has that always been a natural thing for you, the speed that you have, or is that something that you've particularly trained and prepared yourself for? And is there more in the tank there as well?
Yeah, I think growing up, I played a lot of different sports. I played a lot of rugby. I did wrestling. So there was a lot of force that I had to put into stuff when I was a young kid, and did a lot of training when I was really young to be good at all those sports. It was nice to build that from a young age, and I haven't done anything really in the last 3-4 years as a pro and playing on a high amateur level, because we're playing every week. So it's really hard to fit all of that in if you're on the road, especially I'm not at my house. We're traveling, staying in Airbnbs or hotels. So it is quite different the last couple of years to what the amateur career was like when I was actually living in my own house, sleeping on my own bed. So it did look a little different. But yeah, the driver, we made a switch as well. That was 2 or 3 tournaments ago. Made the driver shorter and put the GT2 head in instead of the 3. So that gave me a bit more consistency, a bit more spin. So I am spinning it a little bit more, but it's keeping the ball in the air, and it's actually making me hit it more straighter. So I felt like if I hit the ball a little bit more all over the club face, and I get that knuckly one, it can have a left or right miss. Now it's kind of this, okay, I can hit that spinny fade, and it's going to be more in the middle of the fairway.
It's amazing what fitting can do, even for some, like, for, especially up at your level where the minute differences can make that much of a difference. I just had one, and they put me in a completely different shaft, and I also switched from the GT3 to the GT2 because of how the ball was exiting the club. And I feel like a diva for switching, but they're like, no, you don't. If the top pros in the world are switching as frequently as they are, then the rest of us should be as well. But now that you're fully exempt, does it change anything about how you are approaching things? Are you able to think a little bit more long term in terms of areas you want to improve or things you want to potentially work on? Is that something that is going to come after this season, if at all? I'm just curious if it just happened a couple of days ago here, but if you've put any thought to any of that.
Yeah, I think schedule change is a big thing that we're looking at right now. I'm not in for the Open yet. I think I'm first alternate. So definitely going to head up that way soon to sit out that week and be at the Open, hopefully get in. Maybe someone pulls out, please. That'll be appreciated. But yeah, it's after that week, we got a couple of weeks before the playoffs. So looking at the game, definitely short game can definitely still improve. I think there's a lot of gains that can still be made from that. I think I'm not going to have to rely so much on the short game now that I'm hitting my irons a lot better. If I can still control the ball flight, control the irons and the wedges, it should make my life a little bit more easy. And I definitely saw that last week. I don't have to rely so much on short game. And it's been a big change this year because obviously the grass type is a lot different to what it is in South Africa. So rough out here, it's long, it's thick. So hitting those short-sided rough shots, it's a lot different. So kind of have to learn to control that as well and work with the coaches to get that dialed.
Yeah, you figured out the easiest way to improve your short game. Hit more greens. That's the easiest
Yeah.
way to do it. Curious. I mean, again, you've played golf at a high level for quite some time, but coming out and playing more frequently, specifically on the PGA Tour, is there anything you've seen out there from guys you've played with, or just in general, of a way that they go about things that you've taken specific notice of saying, "Oh, I didn't realize these guys, spin it this much or putt this well from this range," or blah, anything you've said like, "Oh, that's a little different than what I think I'd previously seen, and I need to improve specifically in that area."
I think the biggest thing that I've seen with Americans playing golf, they all got such amazing hands and short game. Where if we look at Australian and South African golfers, everyone hits it very well off the tee. Iron plays really good, but when they get under pressure and the short game stuff and putting drops off a little bit. Like some guys out here I play every week, I'm like, this guy, how's he on the PGA Tour? I'm thinking of this friend and this friend who's in Australia. They should be out here maybe instead of this guy. But when he's missing the greens, he's hitting all over the place. He's making up and down. So there's definitely a lot of players who have really strong points in their game where other parts not so much. But it's just the way they play golf. So a lot of guys are different. So it was nice to see that.
The pitch you had from long right of left, I guess, of 15 in the playoff, that looked like some nice hands. Tough bounce you got on that one, but you made the putt anyways. But that looked like some soft hands that you've been talking about.
Yeah, it was. I was pleased with that shot. It helped me a little bit. I was on the upslope, so that kind of helped me to get the ball in the air, landing soft. So, but I knew when I got the bounce, it wasn't that big of a deal because it was a straight uphill putt. So I was okay with that bounce happening.
Cool. Well, congratulations on the win. Look forward to watching you here this coming week at the John Deere. This episode's coming out on Sunday, so who knows? Maybe you'll have been back to back by then. But best of luck this week. Appreciate you spending some time with us.
No, thanks for having me. Thank you very much.